Here we go. Hello, everybody. Good morning. I gotta get the notes up. There we go. Okay, so this is a very, very special Mindset Monday because not only do I have a guest who's here with me in person. It's my big sister, Twink.
Hi.
Here's Twink. Her name's Lindsay. So do you wanna tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm the older sister. Let's just clarify that. I have studied nutrition for the past 5 years. I have my master's in nutritional science and human health. And I just finished my first year, well, kind of finished half online, unfortunately, due to COVID, but in naturopathic medical school. I'm really enjoying it. And yeah.
Great. Yeah, so the topic from this week, as you may have read elsewhere, is we're going to be talking about food psychology and diet culture and just basically how you can improve your relationship with food. It's really I have to
I'm the food, she's the psychology. We're going to sit here and chat.
We got shiny foreheads because of this light, but it's fine. And
glowing.
I have a couple announcements before we get going, which is just the movie on next Saturday. We're going to be watching Kiki's Delivery Service. I've been really bad about announcing movies and topics and stuff, so I'm trying to be better. I started a new Instagram where I'm trying to do mindfulness every single day. It's called Life of Wads. If you want to go check that out. There's also a link in my Discord. I haven't put one in my panels yet, but it's fine. And last but not least, as usual, as with the other Mindset Monday streams, you probably have seen the channel point rewards. If there's any that are redeemed that I think are disruptive, which means like the Play Club Penguin, like Go Get a Reptile, stuff like that, we're gonna either save those to the end or they'll just be refunded because I don't want to have to stop in the middle of us talking to be able to go do that. But if you do like hydrates, totally fine. We both have our various drinks here. If you want fun facts, that's also fine. I could maybe sing a song. We'll see how we feel in the moment if it happens.
I could do some backup.
Oh god.
Actually, please
harmonize.
Please don't do that.
Disgusting. All right, so we're just gonna hop right into it. So first of all, we're gonna talk about a little bit about us.
Me.
A little. Okay, this one. I guess so. So we're just gonna start with, for anyone who doesn't know, like what is naturopathy, since that's what you're sort of working towards. How did we get there?
There's kind of two realms of medicine that we see in the Western world. We see conventional medicine, which would be like medical doctors and going to the hospital kind of thing, and then we see alternative and complementary medicine, which is where naturopathy falls in. And we really focus on the person as a whole. We do symptom management just like conventional medicine, but we do try to figure out what the root cause of those symptoms are, which I think is a really big difference. And in my experience with medical doctors, that is also where I see the biggest difference when dealing with my MD versus my ND. They really try to get to the bottom of it, and they see you as a whole. So if I say like, oh, I have digestive problems, oh, but I also have this weird eczema on my elbow, they don't see it as two different issues in naturopathic medicine. They see it as all being related, which I found to be really cool, and that's what drew me to naturopathic medicine.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think like this, for me, it kind of goes back to, I think, God, it's because the light keeps changing at the back. It's very annoying. Anyway, we'll just have to deal with shiny foreheads. But the thing I think is really cool about naturopathy and that kind of thing is it's sort of the same thing we've talked about before with like mental health, which is like it's about having your toolbox and having lots of different tools. And it's like, pharmaceuticals, medication, that's one, but there's other ones also. Also, hi, Aradal, good to see you. Good morning.
Yeah,
welcome.
And I'd also like to highlight that a lot of people think that naturopathic doctors, A, aren't trained in pharmaceutical conventional medicine, and B, are against it, which is not true. We feel that there's a time and place for everything, but we really do want to focus on preventative medicine and disease prevention so we can avoid some of those doctor's office trips.
Also, good morning, Sam Newberry. Can you name the tiger? I don't have a tiger in here anywhere, I don't think. But good morning. Thanks for coming and joining. Yeah, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about just like sort of what you were kind of talking about, which is like people kind of have I can't think of the word. Like they have preconceived ideas about what naturopathy means and like doubts about it and stuff. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. So the first thing we're going to talk about is often, when people think natural medicine, they think like herbs and stuff, and so the first big thing is always like, well, that doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So what do you say to that? if someone says it just doesn't work?
I think I'll first highlight maybe what tools we have in our repertoire to help people. So we do have knowledge about pharmaceuticals. I think NDs can write scripts in some jurisdictions, but not others. And we're also not licensed isn't the right word, but some states have certain like coverage and stuff and some don't, so just
not as recognized.
Maybe. It kind of varies state by state and province by province, but generally, so we can write scripts. It's not our go-to. We use botanical medicines, so herbs, tinctures. We use nutrition, which is definitely something I will focus on. We do kind of mental health stuff. We do lifestyle changes, acupuncture, massage, like the list goes on, which I also think is kind of hard to then distinguish what a naturopath is, because a lot of people take certain things and run with them. So some NDs might look like a massage therapist, some NDs might look like a dietitian, but it's just, we have this big scope of tools, which I think is so helpful. So in saying that it doesn't work, a lot of these therapies have been used for thousands of years. Some of our therapies are based off of Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, and these have been around for so long. So the whole science behind things, we're still trying to catch up. There's been so much science into pharmaceuticals because that's where people make money, right? You want to research something to prove that your product works, basically, and then promote your product through that. So you got to think about where the like cost benefit analysis is for these people funding studies like that, for like nutrition and herbs and stuff. Like, who's really making that much money off of carrots, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you're saying, like Kath is saying in chat right now, like, first of all, herb equals weed. I mean, you know, marijuana is one kind of herb that you can use for medicinal
there's a
purposes.
chat over here we can read. Chat, okay, I'm new to this. That's okay. Server.
We're new to Twitch. And yeah, like this person, Kath, says traditional medicine doesn't work. And like that's totally a very like common belief that like, oh, it just doesn't work.
Absolutely.
And there's no evidence for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that just automatically jumping to any assumption of like, that doesn't work or something like that, I just, I say, try to be a little open-minded, listen to what other people have to say. I think it's really beneficial to everyone to have like an open conversation where one person listens, one person talks, and then you kind of flip the script and actually try to learn from the other person, right? Just to shut a conversation down right away and say, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, we both come from science backgrounds, so we are very much like to dive into the literature, the scientific literature. So that's something else that I love to say. If people are like, oh, well, it's proven to not work, I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm open-minded to that. I would love to see some scientific literature on that. Like, I would love to read that so I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you touched on this a whole bunch when you got into it, but I think one of the things that happens when people say it doesn't work is you are comparing it to a pharmaceutical, which is a super concentrated version. Like, all the stuff we get out of pharmaceuticals, we get out of nature just in much, much smaller doses. Yeah. So to expect it to perform on the same level as pharmaceuticals is ridiculous. And it's usually a much longer term, much smaller accumulative effect over time, because we just live in a society where it's very much like, oh, if it doesn't work right the second, then it just doesn't work. And like, we just don't really look for long-term benefits because we just live in a very instant gratification society. So anyway, do you feel we've covered all our
we kind of merge those two together. That doesn't work. There's no evidence.
Okay, that's kind of true. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Want you to be open-minded. Like, it's
and as we are too. Like, everyone has their biases one way or the other. It's hard not to, because we're human. Yeah. But let's just have this open conversation, right?
Yeah. Like,
everyone has different experiences and knowledge, so I think
absolutely.
It just makes you more knowledgeable and a better person to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing too, just about anything in general having to do with health, like mental health, like literally anything, is like, if something works for someone else, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And it's like, again, if it's a small effect over time, then it's even harder to, for us to be like, well, this didn't do anything for me, and the week I tried it, so it must not do anything. So it's it's. Oh, thank you so much for the follow. It's only M. Thank you so much.
I'm just really intrigued. If you see me looking off like a crazy person, I've just never really been on Twitch, so there's a lot of things popping up. So I'm interested.
Not a tech person. Okay, where are we next? Yeah, I think we did talk about this, and then this was just kind of a. I think you
Yeah.
got into this a little bit,
Yeah,
but just
where funding comes
as an
from.
example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be mindful of that.
Yeah. I thought I was already following you. This is an interesting stream. Thank you so much. I love hearing that. But I think sort of you were talking about funding and research and stuff.
Yeah.
One, it's basically, we'll talk about this more again later, but it's basically what it comes down to is you always need to take pretty much everything you are told. Maybe not pretty much everything, like literally everything you're told with a grain of salt. Again, just because it works for someone doesn't mean it'll work for you. Like, just because there's research on it doesn't necessarily mean like it'll work for you or it works at all, because you have to consider like the methodology, who is funding that study, and what results they want. Like, everything is biased. Everything is biased. Nothing is free of bias, and you have to be aware of that. And what it comes down to is just, you know, gathering how much information you can, and then making the best decisions you can for yourself based on that. It's really hard. It's really complicated. There's no one single right answer for anything. What do you think about racism? That's something we're going to touch on a little bit later, just in terms of like accessibility to food, but that's like going to be way later on. So we'll get there, I promise. We have so many notes. Okay. What are the topics? So I have just really quick, since there's a couple new people in chat. So I do 2 streams a week. Mondays I do Mindset Monday, which focuses on mental health, productivity, all the sort of stuff under that scope. And so I've done stuff in the past about, like, we've done one on toxic masculinity, we've done one on self-confidence. Lately we did just a whole stream talking about like meditation, just anything under the sun that I think is interesting in that respect and I think needs to be talked about more. We sort of talk about really quickly. So her background is in nutrition, nutraceuticals, that kind of thing. My background is I have a bachelor's degree in marine biology and neuroscience. So I have I have some psychology background, like in terms of education, but mostly biology. And then I'm just really, really interested in mental health. And I think this is always stuff that needs to be talked about more. And there's so much stuff that goes on in our lives that we don't even think about and maybe should. So that's what we're here for. Anyway, so, and while we're on that, we're going to talk a little bit about our own little journeys with diet and health. And I'll go first. Because I'm, you know, the star here. Neuroscience, that's what Elon Musk is working on. Neuroscience is super duper cool. It's more just like
is mind blowing. I'll be here for an hour.
Yeah, but neuroscience is just like the science side of psychology. It's looking at the anatomy of the brain, the neurotransmitters, all that kind of stuff. But I did also have to take a lot of psychology for that. Anyways,
we took, fun fact, for free.
Fun fact.
We took a neuroscience course together. Oh, sorry.
Even though she's 2 years old.
In university, we just took a class together. It was Intro to Neuroscience, and it was actually hard. If I was in first year, I would have been upset.
It was a lot of memorization. Anyways,
off topic.
For me, actually, why don't you go first, since your journey started a lot earlier, and it sort of links to mine. You go.
My
first.
Journey with food and health and all
that.
How I got here today.
Wow. How you're sitting here today.
So, pretty much, it's funny because when I got to naturopathic medical school this year, it sounded like a lot of people had similar trajectories as my own. So, I remember having digestive upset since I can remember, since the beginning of time. I think I avoided some dairy products just because I like associated that with feeling poorly when I was younger. But nothing was really addressed until high school. And then as I got into high school, I also got interested in makeup. So I also had bad skin. So I had bad skin, bad digestion. So one day I was just kind of fed up. I started looking into natural cosmetics and skincare and stuff. And then it also kind of at the same time, I started looking into my diet because I was feeling crappy all the time. So I went to a nutritionist. I did like a food symptom journal kind of thing. Like you write down what you ate that day and then how you felt, and you kind of like saw you're so much better at me than this. I see something pop up and I'm like, oh, squirrel. Like you're like, you like integrate it really well.
Saeed is doing her makeup. That's very good. Thank you.
So yeah, I went to a nutritionist. She looked at like my food and symptoms and was like, okay, try to cut out dairy and gluten. So if you know me, I'm very type A, very perfectionist. Like I cut it out. Like since then, pretty much I haven't eaten that. And so that was the beginning of my food journey, but it definitely didn't start and end there. I kept looking into stuff. I quick became the like natural medicine, like hippie friend, like people in high school and still now come to me asking for advice on those kinds of things. And so I just kind of kept playing with my diet, you know, listening to my body. In second year, I started hanging out with my now best friend, and she was vegan. So I kind of transitioned to vegan. So that's pretty much where I'm at now. I would say a flexible vegan right now, and I'm gluten free. Some things are by choice, some things are whatever, are for my symptoms. And then also just over my studies, I've learned the pros and cons of certain foods. So I definitely would say I'm more flexible now. It's really hard to be so restricted all the time. Sometimes I can, sometimes it's fine. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to eat that because I know it's going to make me feel bad. But sometimes it's hard when you're eating out with people, you're eating at someone's house. Like, it's just too much. So I would say I'm flexible, but I do try to listen to my body. So that's kind of where I'm at. And my studies definitely just followed my journey.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, traditional food is the best. Fish, meats, nuts, fruits. That's the food we developed to eat over thousands of years. That's one thing we were going to talk about
traditional
more later.
Food. That's an interesting term. Like, that's an interesting way to describe it.
Yeah, but like one thing, just as a quick aside to like get into is we have done some wild things to food. Mm-hmm. Like, we have made it such a product instead of like this is just something we like use to fuel our bodies and feel good. Anyway, we'll talk more about that later. I'm what?
Your journey.
My journey. My journey was basically I've had digestive problems for like ever, but I really just ignored them for a long time. Okay, we get back to that later. Yes, you're just thinking too far ahead. Yeah. You're way ahead of us.
Anyway. We got notes.
Oh, I got a sippy.
Hydrate.
Hi, warrior girl. Thank you for the hydrate, Saida. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so I've had digestive problems for just like ever, and mostly I just ignored them, and like food was just always kind of a hit or miss thing, because it's like sometimes I would like try to eat, like I tried to eat the best I could. We grew up in a house that there was generally a lot of like healthy food around. There wasn't always, mostly there wasn't like tons of chips or like dessert stuff, like so we already kind of had a good base for that. But it was like even when I was eating like good like healthy food, I was still having problems, like, and it kind of felt like no matter what I did, which was frustrating.
And I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like we've never really been big on fast food anyway, so it's like it wasn't really that. And I just have this thing where it's like I went through some serious like mental health problems in like end of high school into my first couple of years of university, and I'm just like I've been digging myself out of that hole ever since. But what happened was when I don't feel well, I just default to like not eating. So it became a thing of like sometimes it would be like I didn't feel like eating, I wasn't hungry, I didn't have the energy to make food, and I knew that there was a decent chance that if I did eat something, I was just gonna like it was just gonna make my stomach upset. So it's like didn't work. And then I guess what happened for me is like, I mean, I was watching her go through this.
We lived together obviously all through high school, but then in my third year, no, my third, fourth, and master's, right?
Yeah, that was 3 years.
3 years towards the end of our university careers.
Yeah.
So I was around, I was cooking, I was doing my thing, I was being the big sister, being like, hey, you should maybe try this with your diet. And like,
I ignored her mostly.
If I was like gonna say, if you have siblings, you know that like the last person on earth you're gonna listen to is your sibling. Like, even if you have 2 degrees in nutrition, like I still can't get my sister to listen to me. So
yeah, that's fair. Ardell said I'm dealing with music and singing, so that's not really what we're talking about right now. And I have my Nightbot set up so people can't send links, so it will just get deleted if you send a link, so probably don't do that. And we are talking about diet, nutrition, and stuff, so we are going to stay on that topic. And then what happened was when we were living together, I ended up kind of inadvertently cutting out meat because she wasn't really eating meat, and I just didn't really care that much about it, so I just stopped eating meat. So I became more, I guess, like more into a vegetarian thing. And then I think what happened is just in the last couple months, I've just like really hit my stride and like started to really figure out what I wanted to do. And I sort of just got to the point where I was like, I just want to feel good. And I was like, I'm just gonna like cut out gluten and dairy and go from there. Which is funny because it was one of those things that was like, I watched her like not like have, you know, her gluten intolerance and like not be able to have dairy for a long time, and for some reason it just never occurred to me that like maybe those things bother me too. On some level I think it was just I wanted to deny it.
I was gonna say I think I suggested it a couple lots of times,
but finally I was just like, okay, I'm sick of this. I want to feel better, I want to get my life together, and so I was like, I'll just cut that stuff out, which I have, and honestly it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, and I've felt a lot better, and we're still, I mean, there's still stuff where I'm in the process of figuring out, but
and it is a process. That's what a lot of people get intimidated by. They're like, most people aren't like me. They don't just like cut things cold turkey. Like it takes time. But I just would like to say something. So a lot of people think that digestive issues, among other health issues, but we're talking about digestive issues right now. It's like, it's my genetics. It runs in the family. Like on both sides of our family, we have like stomach, whatever, digestive issues. So that was like inevitable.
Colon cancer? Maybe even?
Colon cancer, Crohn's, like, we were like not set up for success. But so while genetics does play a role, epigenetics is something that basically says that your environmental factors can turn on or off your genes. And so, yes, you can be genetically susceptible to things, and that's like a family type thing, but you also inherit your eating habits from that same generation, right? So you see all these problems down the line, but you also have those food habits coming down the line to you. So you have, epigenetics tells you that you have the capability to make a change. Motivation Monday.
And it's hard when, like, we're really lucky because we already kind of had a good base growing up, but it can be really hard if you're someone who your family eats, you know, like eats out a lot, or just eats like vegetables are just not really a thing in your house. Like it can be, you can be digging yourself out of a hole there. But
just know that yes, genetics plays a role, but that doesn't have to be your fate.
That's something we've talked about before too, where it's like biology kind of determines your like level of difficulty, like the circumstance you're gonna have to deal with, but that's like not
how many hurdles you have.
Exactly. It determines how hard it's gonna be, but it doesn't determine whether or not you can do it.
I said environment. I meant like we both do this. External factors that aren't genetic. So your diet, how much exercise you get, like the actual environment, like pollution around you, like a lot of things can affect your genes and how they react. Some genes can turn on and off. It's like a whole other, epigenetics is like a whole other thing, but it's just cool because you don't have to succumb to, oh, well, I'm genetically predisposed to this, so that's just going to be my life, right? Like you have the power. Like food is so powerful. You have the power to change your trajectory.
And on that note, we're going to go into our next, we have like subtopics and then subtopics. So what we're going to talk about now is just like food. Like what is it? What does it mean? What's up? So we're going to try to start, I think, like very, very base level and then sort of like work our way up, like in, I guess, complexity. So the first like very, very basic thing is just like food is a necessity. It's a basic need for survival. It's like, you know, very bottom, you need it to survive.
You burn energy, so you need to eat energy. Because
we're animals. So that's like, it's not something you can get away from. Like we all have to deal with it on some level. Which means, and that's kind of why we're talking about this, it's like, because you don't have control over whether or not you have to interact with food, because you do. What you do have control over is how you want that relationship to go.
Warrior Girl has some things to say.
How do
So I think, obviously, my nagging didn't really work, but I think leading by example and talking about how much better you feel, like that kind of thing, I think that's probably what made the change for you. Not me constantly saying, oh, I think you should do it. That's, I mean, siblings. But I think leading by example, like talking about it, having open conversations, not being judgmental, like how would you receive something positively from me? This is, you know.
Cass says bully them into it. Well, clearly with me,
it didn't work. I am the biggest bully.
It doesn't work
with her.
She tries. So that wasn't working. I think for me, it's kind of like, what it comes down to, just for a lot of things across the board, is you cannot make people change. You can't.
Yeah.
What you can do, like you say, is you can have honest conversations about it. You can encourage them in subtler ways. Like if you are a parent with a kid, or you're just the person who does the grocery shopping in your house, stop buying the stuff that you don't like, you don't want you to be eating, and by extension you would prefer if other people weren't eating too. And it's like, you know, you can do things like make it easier for them to try new things, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff you can do.
I think you can also open the door. Like, I know not everyone has a like nutritional background, like education in it, but I think it's good enough to say like, hey, like I've made these changes in my life. I've seen X, Y, and Z changes in my mood, my symptoms, my whatever. And I would be really happy to talk to you about it if like you ever feel like it. So you don't like pile it all onto them, but you open that door and say, hey, I'm here to chat. Like, I've had good experiences. I kind of see you struggling with the same thing. Like, I can help you. Or, like, let's chat about it.
And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is if they don't want to change, they're not going to change. And you have to let it go. Do you have advice on how to handle situations where you should try to be pushy? For example, if you have an older parent when you're concerned, eating habits
we do have an older parent.
We do have that. And I think, like, this is where it gets hard, right? Because it's like, it's very easy for us to look at other people and say, I see what's wrong.
Yeah.
And I want to help you fix it. But generally, the harder you push, the harder they will resist if they don't want to change.
Yeah. I think maybe something for our dad is just including them in the meals that you're making. Like, for example, our dad, and even us with each other sometimes, like, we don't want to cook, or like if we do, it's just going to be like, I don't know, something easy. But it's like, if you include them in the meals that you're making, it kind of just, you know, again, opens that door to them, exposes them to something new. Maybe they'll like it. Maybe they've never tried it. Maybe they don't know how to cook it. Like, so that can be a thing.
Yeah. And this is something we get into a little bit more, and like a couple levels up on the like, what is food? But kind of like you're saying, is food, we're skipping ahead a few levels, whatever. Food is a social thing also. And it can be a way to connect with people. So it's like, if you have an older parent and you can be like, hey, do you want to try cooking together? Or do you want to, like, you know, have a meal together? Like, usually you can't make people do other things, but you can do things, and you can include them in your things.
Exactly.
If they want to be included. Yeah. It can be really hard, because it's like, at the end of the day, it can be awful to see someone, you know, like killing themselves because they aren't taking care of themselves, and there's only so much you can do for them.
Again, you can't make anyone do anything.
You can't make anyone do anything.
And we're probably two of the most stubborn people saying that.
So it's just like making it an open environment where people can opt in or out. As soon as you try to get into the like, you should do
assertive,
this,
abrasive,
you've lost them,
judgmental. Yeah, it doesn't work. And that's the same with anything. It's not just food.
Yeah, so, you know, leading by example, leading by example, and, you know, including them in you know, you modeling that behavior and encouraging them to do the same. Education can help, but often if people have decided something, no study, like doctor is going to convince them otherwise. So I wasn't mentioning the name. Well, we all know. It's okay. Anyway, so so we talked a little bit about you know, food at its very base is just like a necessity. It's just fuel. That's what it is. And then a little further up is, so that's kind of like individual body level. Food is fuel at the very base. And then, you know, food fuels everything, and this is more of a you thing. But like, do you want to give some examples of like different types of food and what they might do for different parts of your body?
You can think of food in many ways. So you can think about food as fuel, which I would just say like very easily, like calories, right? Carbs, fats, protein, calories, like get that fuel into you. And then you can think about it as fuel can support your digestive system. So fiber, right? That helps everything stay flowing smoothly. Food can support all your little bodily processes that go on each day that you don't even think about, you know, like temperature regulation, making hormones, all that kind of stuff. So in that sense, I think kind of vitamins and minerals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're getting more into the substance of food as opposed to just fuel, right? So a lot of my studies have been on functional foods, which just means that foods that have special qualities that affect our bodies in certain ways. So some examples are like fatty fish have something called omega-3, which is really good for your brain. Garlic has something called allicin. It turns into alanine in there's a bunch of words that sound the same, but anyways, you get the idea. So garlic is good for immune function. It supports your immune system. Blueberries have been studied to be good for your memory, which is why we tell our parents to eat blueberries.
Also, they're tasty.
And they're tasty, exactly. So again, with the different levels, so we can see calories, just survival, right? And then we get into all these layers of food, and it's less about survival and more about living optimally in your best health and preventing diseases.
Yeah, and there's also studies that get into, I have only looked at a couple lately, so like don't quote me on this, but there is like evidence too that like better, more plant-based diets can help with like, you know, depression and stuff like that. And so it can become a mental health thing too. And then on a more, you know, conscious type level, you know, food can be really comforting. I love food personally.
I love food.
I love eating. One of my favorite activities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's something we use to celebrate. Like that's a very common thing. It's something that can be like kind of an adventure because like there's always new things to try. It can be really rewarding. It's like, you know, cooking is an activity that some people make careers out of. Like it's a whole wide thing. Might be off topic, but how do you feel about multivitamins and supplements for the things you mentioned? There's a lot of stuff out there that multivitamins are actually useless. How do you feel about
I think that a varied plant-based diet can generally supply you with all of the things that you need. I find it very helpful. I use a website called Chronometer, Cronometer. And you can kind of track your food. I do it maybe once a week just to make sure I'm hitting all my targets. And you can also get blood tests done. So those are two ways to know what your nutrient levels are. So you can be for example, myself, I'm eating a lot of plant-based iron sources, but I got a blood test done saying that my iron's low. So I've decided to incorporate an iron supplement into my daily regimen. Multivitamins, they usually don't have enough concentration to really do all that much because they're trying to stuff. Oh yes, I don't know how to do this.
I got it.
She's got it. So yeah, that's like a free website. It's based on a lot of databases, and it's annoying at the beginning because you have to input everything, but they do have an app. You can scan the food item you're using. You can put in recipes, so it gets easier to track. But I just find it really helpful. So yeah, the first thing is the food you're eating, and the second thing is whether your body is absorbing it. So that's a blood test. So if you've been tracking consistently and find that your levels are low, you can go to your doctor or your naturopathic doctor, because we can do blood tests too, and say, I'd really like to test whatever because I think I'm low in it because I can't quite get enough of my diet. Or you can talk to them about incorporating it. But yeah, sorry to go off on a tangent, but you really opened the door to my favorite things.
Yeah.
So multivitamins, generally, I think they have too low a level across the board because they try to jam so much into this little wincy pill, right? And often it'll want you to take 3 a day to get enough. If it's a 1 a day, it's probably not useful anyways, but no one likes to take things 3 a day anyways. So I would just say try to focus on more specific supplements. I do like supplements, but generally I think a varied plant-based diet will hit all of your targets, and then you go from there.
Yeah, so I fully understand what you're saying. It's kind of like, unless there's something you're deficient in, you don't really need supplements. And there can be some that you can, with aging, there can be, you're talking about omega-3s, you might need more to help support, but it's
or if you're a menstruating person, you might need more iron anyways because you bleed it out every month.
Yeah, just taking supplements just because isn't really going to help.
You're literally throwing your money out the window or out the toilet, whatever you want to.
So it has to be more specific and targeted.
Yeah, so I would work with a healthcare practitioner. I would start by logging your food and just see what you're hitting.
I don't do that.
I'm not telling you that.
I don't do that.
And then go from there. Yeah, talk with your healthcare practitioner about getting blood tests done. It also can affect your energy levels, right? So a lot of people don't know they're deficient in certain nutrients. And then it gets fun, and you can look up like, okay, food's high in magnesium, and then
Yeah, and I think again, this is something we already a little bit talked about, but we'll talk about more later. Is like the thing with the multivitamins and like you were saying the ones with like really low levels is you have to remember those are also a product that people are trying to sell you. So they'll put lots of claims on there that may have some truth to them, but usually they're embellished to sound a lot better.
Yeah. Warrior Girl's asking how to choose the best supplements. I would do some research on the active forms of vitamins because a lot of the time they're cheaply given in not the best forms or the non-active forms, and your body has to convert them. So again, that's just now trusting. That's same as taking the food and then trusting that your body is actually absorbing or converting it. So I would do some research on that.
Totally. So we talked about a little bit about the individual level and like individual body level and like subconscious and then like conscious mental health. And then this kind of goes with the other one, but it's like sort of like we were saying before, like food is a social thing. It's a way people connect. Like a big part of culture is food. It's an activity that you can do together. Like sharing food with people is a very like, it's kind of an intimate thing. So it's connecting. And it's something we all have in common, again, because everybody has to eat food. So it can be real. Like, these are some of the reasons that food is really great.
Yeah. I have good memories of us growing up always sitting down at the dinner table together. Like, we didn't always eat breakfast together and, like, lunch was at school and stuff, but sitting down together at dinner, just, like, talking about our days.
And even, like, to this day, like, I think, you know, in terms of, like, love languages, like, making food for someone or even, like, you know, can you grab me a piece of chocolate with your chocolate? That's, you know, love. And... you know, for us, when I wasn't being gluten-free, it's like every time I'd see a gluten-free treat, I'd be like, oh, Twink might want this. And I'd usually get her one. And like, that's love. Yeah.
Totally.
And I think, like, I feel like people don't really think about their relationship with food just because it's such an integrated part of our life, so we don't really think about it that hard. But I do think that your relationship with food can be indicative of other parts of your life. Like, it can be indicative of how, you know, food was growing up. It can be indicative of how how anxious you are, stuff like that. If you have issues with food, they're usually caused by something else, but they show up as a food thing. I'm glad you brought it up. It's very important to think critically and do research on anything sold to you. That's a lot of good conversation happens around food. And I like Raj is saying, like, it's just a big thing. Like, literally anything I say, even her who's very educated in this, like, just anything anyone tells you, you should do your own research. Always take it with a grain of salt. Like, remember that just because something is researched doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad or it works or it doesn't. Like, it's too complicated to just have it be black or white. It's
like, even like with all my educational years, I literally will say something sometimes. I'm like, wait, is that true? And then I like go look into my notes or like go look, like, so just, you know, even the most educated people can slip up sometimes. So
and I think, like, again, in terms of, like, food can be indicative of other issues we have, food can also be sort of one way we can work on these issues. So, like, if you're someone who, you know, is a very anxious person and, like, you get very freaked out about what other people think of you, and that translates to, like, something like you don't like eating around people, that can be one way you start opening up and working on that anxiety. It's just, there's many paths, but this is one of them, and I love food. And you had some notes here that were not my notes, so you can talk about them if you would like.
Oh, well, yeah, we just, again, food with fuel, but food's a way for us to grow physically and mentally. So yeah, growth, obviously meeting our energy needs, like physical growth and, you know, fueling our body to do all our daily processes and stuff like that. But also mentally, about being, you know, open-minded to try new foods, try new things. I encounter a lot of people that are really close-minded, see what I'm eating, go, oh, you know, and it's like, well, it's the same thing with, like, anything, you know. If you say, nope, don't like that, that's weird, that's foreign, don't like that, you know, just, you know, be close to be open-minded.
An interesting thing that lets you realize how important research is, an interesting inspecting how the popular diet is. God, diet culture is just, we're about to get into that. It's so frustrating to watch people go on diets.
First sugar's bad, then fat's bad, then, you know,
carbs are bad, and, you know,
life is bad.
Eating's bad. Eat ice.
Eat
Do
air.
nothing. Okay, so
Don't eat
now
air.
the next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about sort of food at the society level. So we're going to talk about, but by the way, this is mainly focusing on North America because that's where we live and where we have, you know, experienced a lot of this kind of stuff. And we have a lot of issues here like obesity and just a lot of issues.
You're gonna say obesity.
Obesity that we're sort of more familiar with.
I remember in high school.
There was a bodybuilding trend of drinking like a gallon or two of milk, which is actually really bad for you. Yeah,
it's whack. We'll talk a bit about changing fads and stuff.
Yeah, so we're gonna start by talking a little bit about we're gonna talk about the history of obesity in North America, just because like this is kind of talking about the general trend. But I think the obesity part is really interesting because it's kind of like what Raj was saying, like how stuff changes. Because it like, so very, very base.
Again with the base, we like the base.
We like to build up.
Yeah.
At the very base of it, we're animals, and in animals, fat storage is really good. It's really important. Honestly, if you're an animal, the better you are at storing fat, the better equipped you are
to survive.
To survive, basically. Like you think about, you know, animals who hibernate. You think about animals who live anywhere there's scarce food, which is most places. Like it's always a struggle for food, and so being able to store a lot of fat is great. And because of that, it's like, you know, in the wild, if you see an animal that has some like fat on it, that animal is doing well. That's a good thing.
A very fat gopher ate my garden, so that's
that
a very
gopher's doing well for
successful
itself.
Gopher.
Yeah. I remember one of my friends trying to sell me on it. All the rest of it was in my high school. Drank
milk.
half a gallon of chocolate milk. Everyone. Anyway, so that's very, very base level. And then in past civilizations, you know, it used to be that food was a lot more of a problem, again, because we started out as animals and we worked our way up towards like growing our own food and stuff. So famine, I don't know how to say words, like access to food was a problem. It still is, but to a lesser degree. And just like food scarcity, especially when there was times of war, like that became a huge thing. And so in that time when like access to food was limited, it's like if you were fat, it meant you were probably wealthy,
well
like
off.
You were doing well for yourself. Like it was, again,
you had the access to that food.
Yeah, absolutely. And then over time, you know, access to food became more widespread. It became, you know, we made it all sorts of ways so it was cheaper and faster and like so on and so forth. And as we put more research into this and discovered that, you know, with obesity comes like cardiovascular disease, like diabetes, like it's not such a good thing to be really overweight. Then all of a sudden we moved from like, oh, like fat is good and like here's how to put on more fat. It was like, how do you get rid of the fat? You know, and all of a sudden it was everybody needs to be skinny kind of thing.
Exactly. Which again, just with that fluctuating diet fad and body trend fad, which is ridiculous.
Bread is amazing. God, I love bread. That's one thing. Gluten-free, it wasn't that hard to switch, but one thing I do miss a little bit is just like some basic, like good, like, you know, the kind of bread you get at like Italian restaurants. Yeah. It's so good.
That was always so sad. Good. I was like,
but at the plus side, it means we eat less simple carbs. So like, it's good. But I miss simple carbs. Anyways, it saved a lot of people back in the day. Exactly. Yeah. I was looking at food pyramids actually the other day, and it used to be that like cereals and grains and like carbs were the base level. They were the biggest one, whereas now it's like vegetables are the big one. But like that was
which are still carbs, by the way, just different.
Whatever. I'm a simpleton. Okay, I learned lately that like I mean I knew this somewhere in my brain that like sugar is carbs or carbs is sugar, but then it never really occurred to me that like fruit is a kind of carb because it's a sugar. That blew my goddamn mind. Anyways, but basically, especially in the last like several decades, obesity became more and more of a problem because there was more access to food, but a lot of the time it wasn't good food. It didn't have good nutritional value. And now, you know, being obese, it's equivalent to like, oh, you're lazy, you have no self-control, you don't like care about yourself.
Which I think is gross. Also contributing, as we have this obesity epidemic, it's contributing to fat phobia because we have that. It's like this gluttonous, which like before it was seen as, oh my god, that person's well off, they have all this food, like they're living lavish, you know, they're surviving. But now it's, people who are obese or overweight are just seen as being lazy, out of shape, gross, like, which is breeding fat phobia, which is a whole nother
it's a whole
issue,
nother
but
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
not cool.
And then like with that again, with the stuff became more accessible, became cheaper and faster, and like pre-prepared and all that stuff, there was a big impact of capitalism and consumerism on this, because all of a sudden it was like food became more and more of a product to be marketed and sold, and consumerism, it follows like the beliefs of society. So it's like if society says, oh, fat is good, then people will market for, oh, this like helps you put on weight. But now it's changed to like, this helps you lose weight, this is healthy, and it like there's all these labels that go around and stuff, and body types have become a trend, an ideal to be achieved. I mean, I feel like it was always kind of that way, but now even more, it's like, and it changes. It's like, I think you were saying yesterday, it's like
someone in the chat said just about how diet fads and body fads are always changing, and this kind of comes down to consumerism at this point, because how can you constantly be selling like the same thing to someone over and over, because then they're gonna eventually achieve whatever it is you were trying to sell. So
if it worked,
if it worked, you got to switch it up, like
yeah. And so it's just like, and at the end of the day, consumerism and capitalism, it feeds off of us being afraid and insecure and unsatisfied. People who are satisfied don't want to buy more stuff. People who are happy with their body don't want to buy into diets or buy diet pills or like all that kind of stuff.
And it's also, I feel like, about like evolutionarily, you want to fit in, right? Like you want to do what everyone else is doing. You want to be accepted, because then you're safe and loved, and like that's also
I've said this like a bunch of times before, but a lot of the stuff we're scared of comes down to, if we don't, like in the wild, if you're part of a herd, you have to fit into the herd, because if you're left behind by the herd, you literally die, and we still have that in us. So we still have we need to fit in and stuff.
Hi, not a gaming expert. I'm also not a gaming expert.
Hi, welcome. No worries for joining late. It's great to see you. People always want the thing that only the rich have. Right now, the people want to be thin because they're really is rich. It's so funny that it's like
it's what is in the media too, right?
Absolutely. And
what a shift. Okay,
that's good. And it's funny because it's like with consumerism and capitalism, what really works is selling stuff that doesn't actually do what it says it will. Because if it does what it says it will, people will
stop buying it, because
stop buying it, because it if they achieve the result they want, they'll stop buying it because they don't need it anymore. Exactly. So it changing up the diets and having like, oh, this totally works, and even when people point out that stuff clearly doesn't work, that often does not stop people from buying it. So it's exhausting. So it's literally a radical act to love your damn self and stop goddamn dieting.
Exactly.
I'm getting really excited. I'm
very excited.
Very loud.
Where are we in these notes?
We're here.
I should not control the mouse.
This. We're here.
Sorry.
We did kind of talk about this actually, but just as we have developed more control over our food and how we can do stuff with it, it has become, we opt for cheaper, faster, long lasting. It's become a thing where we have like products literally will appeal to like your little animal brain and the taste buds that say like, in the wild, like
survive,
fat, sugar, salt, like those are really good things that animals rely on. It's like the more the better. And so your taste buds get really excited when something's really fatty, really sugary, really salty. But our society and like marketing literally uses that to make us buy food that's really nutritionally not very good for us.
Isn't it funny how like when it's psychology stuff, you're like, woo, and when it's supplement food, anything, I'm like, woo.
Coke Zero works for me. Cosmo dating advice. The option is that 10% of the most beautiful people make up 80% of what people see, and like media stuff, it comes a distorted sense of normal. Absolutely. Totally. And this is a point.
Not gaming expert. You're right. Fat free. They usually load it with sugar too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this was a point you were excited about, wanted to touch on, kind of thing, which is about labeling, which we touched on a little bit, but if you want to talk about labeling for products and marketing for products.
Like as an example, just as she said, like changing the label claims as the diet fads change and kind of stuff. So like, for example, gluten-free is now this big thing. So companies are using this opportunity for a marketing claim to market their water as gluten-free when it was always gluten-free. So then that gives people the misconception that gluten-free means that it's healthier because, oh, it's a label claim, so that, and it's a marketing thing, so that must be healthier for me. And then what am I?
We're
I was like, where are we at? What am I meant to be talking about? Oh yeah, tricking our brains. Okay, I saw the plate thing and I got confused.
gluten-free water, yeah.
Gluten-free, like literally, like go around and look at these label claims, and you're gonna be like, what? Like, what do you mean?
That's wild.
Yeah, so that's just something we've been chatting about lately because she went gluten-free. So, but yeah, don't be tricked into things. So that's why I think it's so important to learn to read food labels, like the nutritional labels on the back, so you can actually see. I know Canada has gotten really good with the nutritional labels. They're like the Health Canada, which is like our equivalent of the FDA, is making our nutrition tables like make more sense. So I always say look at the serving size because they kind of try to trick you. And then go down the list of things like look for fiber, look for vitamins and minerals kind of thing. So you can now look at the front of the package and go, you know what? That doesn't quite make sense. It says full of fiber, but it only has like this much fiber, you know? So you can just kind of become a more educated consumer that way.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to believe that things are a lot more regulated than they are. Yeah. Because there's lots of claims that are not regulated.
There's lots of...
There's some that are, and there's some that are not. So it's like...
And there's lots of money being thrown around by certain industries. Ooh, can I get into the plate?
Yeah. I will put this link in chat so we can talk about it. I'll just introduce it really quick. So you've probably seen the, like, you know, various... Oh, Sippy from Word Girl, thank you. I'll have it read. It's been a thing in the past where it's like, you know, food guides and stuff. Like we have the Canadian food guide. There's different kinds of like, this is what you should be eating, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And so lately,
so much hydration.
So lately, the thing I'm gonna send in chat is, so this is one where it's the My Healthy Eating Plate, which was done, I believe, by like the Harvard School of like health and like public medical stuff, and it's fully based on research. Versus the My Plate, which is done by the USDA. What does that stand for?
Can't remember.
But it's like the agricultural industry is what it is. And so
and I would also say that Health Canada revamped their food guide lately. And actually it was really cool. When I was in school, one of my profs was like one of the food scientists, like nutritional scientists that was involved in changing the food guide. So Canada's food guide is now actually very scientifically based, which is great. But if you think about it, in the past, where is all the money in our food industry? Meat and dairy, right? So what do you think is showing up on the food guides that are funded by these big industries?
Yeah, this one is
Department of Agriculture.
American, Department of Agriculture. But the reason I was looking at this one and what I liked it is it's directly comparing the two. And like the one I think is really interesting is like it talks a little bit about like the healthy eating plate is more specific on what actually constitute as a like the nutritionally valuable like forms of this, where it's like you know, the My Plate for one example is like, oh, the protein could be like a hamburger or a hot dog, and it's like there's much better protein sources than that. Vegetables being the largest section is great. And also
I like No, actually, I didn't realize this plate did too, but I like how it splits up the fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Because I know the Canadian plate, I don't think it does. It just has plants on one side, which is okay, but it gets confusing. As to what to consume.
But if you're looking at this, you see the plate on both is actually like the portion size are fairly similar. There's no dairy on the healthy eating plate though. The research back one, there's no dairy. Yeah. And whereas I believe the USDA one says you should have dairy with every single meal. And if we go down to where the dairy thing
essentially is, because the dairy farmers caused a stink because they're going to lose their livelihood if people stop eating dairy, right?
Yeah. So I'm just going to read. I'm not going to pull it up on the screen because I'm trying not to mess with stuff. I can't tell you apart. Hi, River. Great to see you. That's why we have name tags.
She's a blueberry head and I'm not.
No, I'm not a blueberry head right now. But so this is from the site. It says, the My Plate recommends dairy at every meal, even though there is little, if any, evidence that high dairy intakes protect against osteoporosis, which means that helps your bones, and there's considerable evidence that too high intakes of dairy can be harmful. As for sugary drinks, My Plate says 100% fruit juice counts as part of the fruit group when it is fully sugar.
Could just dive.
It's all sugar.
Hi, River Tam.
Hi.
Oh, I forgot the mic was there. Sorry.
It's okay.
I just yelled. Wow, I could so dive into it. It's funny because I did this comparison. I made an ebook, and this was something I did in it, is compare things.
Yeah.
And this is kind of stuff that I learn in school too, is just looking at the science versus what is pushed. And it's funny because I actually had profs that would go back and forth. So even like in my nutritional learning, it was confusing because I got multiple messages because people's biases show through, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same with the Canadian food plate. I don't think dairy's included, or maybe it's like Greek yogurt, like very
Yeah, I think at the very least it's not its own category. We can actually Canada food plate. I don't have a source, sorry, but a study was done in the UK studying health outcomes over time versus different amounts of vegetable portions per day. There didn't seem to be any lessening in the positive effects of the more veg portions eaten. I mean,
any lessening.
What do you mean by that?
I think I'm confused. There didn't seem to be any lessening. Like the positive effects kept going up with plants.
I think
any lessening.
He's saying more vegetables, there wasn't more positive effects, but I think part of the thing is like it in terms of like percentages, there's a certain percentage of your diet that should be vegetable, because you get like the most nutritional value out of those versus more like more veggie.
Yes.
Okay, never mind. We don't need to get into that point. It's okay. I was also very confused by that. It's okay. We're just gonna look really quickly. I apologize.
I love the Canadian food guide. I'm so happy.
I usually pull this stuff up on the screen, but because of the way my cam is set up right now, I'm not going to.
But we just Googled Canada food plate.
I'll put a link in chat to the Canada food guide also if you are interested. So it has it doesn't separate fruits and vegetables, but it has half the plate as fruits and vegetables, which is like
less. I think less fruit.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Sorry.
And then it says I also like this was I think a change that has happened over time where it stopped being like meat and fish and stuff and just used the term protein, which I like a lot.
Because I think that fueled the conversation of, oh, you can't get protein if you don't eat meat.
Yeah.
Which was an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if there's any details on this. Okay, that's fine. I was just wondering if they included like dairy in the protein section or just left it out completely.
I just don't know what that. If you see the picture, there's like a little.
It looks like dip.
Yeah, it looks like dip, but
could be
white.
Mayonnaise.
Like it's.
Just take a sip of mayonnaise for your daily protein.
Anyways, yeah, it's just so again, just with the funding and science versus like industry funded, and then look at the big major players in the industry. Like looking at the science is obviously so much better for your health because they don't have this like ulterior motive of trying to sell you their products.
Yeah. And data can be manipulated a lot of ways, which comes back to the like research thing of like you can kind of manipulate data to come out however you want it to, which is why it's important to be like, who is funding this study? Yeah. Where did this study come from? I need to pee. Do you want to take a quick?
You know, break? I can pee at any point of the day.
We're gonna take a break for a couple minutes because that also I think finished off. Well, there's one more point in this section, but that's fine. So we'll be back in like a couple of minutes. You know, grab a cup of water. I think you hit something. It's fine.
I hit.
Okay. Bye. And we're back. I got a snack and it's all
chewing.
teeth. Hold on.
I know.
I was recently advised to drink less water per day, and since doing so, I've slept better and have less headaches. Be careful of overhydrating. I have read some stuff that was just kind of like, drink water when you're thirsty. Just like, that's it. Like,
yeah. Make water your drink of choice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, don't, like, I've definitely had people that are like, oh, I need to hydrate, and then all of a sudden they're drinking, like, way more than their body can handle, and then they pee so much, and then they're like, oh, this is horrible, I shouldn't be hydrating this much, and it's like,
yeah.
Okay, well, baby steps here.
Yeah, I personally have not looked a ton into the research, but just for myself, I'm like, I feel like the usual recommended amount of water is way too much for me, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will just feel gross if I have to drink that much water in a day.
Yeah, I just think listen to your body, really.
Yeah, and like you say, when you're thirsty, drink water. That's the best drink to drink.
Your urine should ideally be like a pale yellow in the bowl. That's a good indicator.
Thank you for bringing pee into my stream.
Well, I'm a med student. It's, it's
I worked
chill.
out that I had 9 to 12 pints a day. That's a lot!
What's pints? How much is that? Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
So
What's a
that's
pint?
a lot of water. It's like,
What's
with,
that
like,
in
like a
liters?
pint of beer, right? That's all I think
know.
of when I think pint.
Yeah, great.
Anyway.
Bring my notes up.
We're gonna get to this more again later, but I think in general, it's just like, just listen to your body. Just listen to your body. If you are not thirsty, don't drink more water just because you feel like you have to. Anyway.
And like little sips, like don't have to chug,
Chug.
Yeah.
Yeah, just drink all of your water just right at the start of the morning.
At the same
just take
time.
a gallon
Yeah.
and I'm just kidding. There's no pee in stream. So now we're still on talking about food and society, and for our last little point, we're just going to talk about issues of food accessibility, because one big problem that's happening now in our society, again, with the cheap, easy, fast, prepackaged, whatever thing, is often the easiest and cheapest kind of food to get is the least nutritionally valuable.
Yeah, but most accessible.
Most accessible.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate.
I had boys at my old high school who would carry a gallon of water with them everywhere. I mean, that's not bad, but if it's like...
Well, that's one way to do it, of like have this huge jug, or like whatever jug carries as much water as you want to drink that day. That's actually a good visual to be like, okay, I do need to drink more water, because there is like a baseline of water you should drink, right? Like give or take some, because we're all different, obviously, but that is one way to do it. And I've seen people do like the times, like they want to, so they do it over the day, but...
I just spent half an hour sitting at Tim Hortons eating dry bagel and black coffee. Not ideal.
Love the simple carbs.
Sometimes you need that, though. And so this is, like, particularly, it becomes a problem with, like, people who live in lower income households, because it's, like, they, maybe working a lot. They may not have tons of time to go grocery shopping, to be preparing food and stuff. So it may be, like, on any given day.
They don't have the time, the energy, or the funds.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Lower socioeconomic status generally opts for these types of foods.
Exactly.
Which then it just leads to this vicious cycle, and, like, likely health problems along the way. And then it's just, like, how do you get out of that?
Absolutely. Again, because it's, like, on any given day, is it, like... you say you come home from a long day of work, maybe you have to go to another job, or you have to take care of your kids, or like so on and so forth, and it's like, maybe you don't have a car, and it's like, is a 5-minute walk to the convenience store to get something easy you can throw in the microwave, or versus a big, like, a 30-minute bus ride both ways to the grocery store to pick up food that you then have to go, like, prepare, like, what's the easiest option?
And it comes down to, like, government subsidies really should be on the more nutritious foods, but again... certain industries have more pull. There's an almond skin stuck in my throat. But certain industries have more pull. So then that determines what the government subsidizes to make cheaper.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the subscription, Not a Gaming Expert. I appreciate that so much. That's the paid one, by the way.
What's the tier one?
Okay.
That's so nice. I know subscribe.
Yeah, subscribing is, so these are the different, that's not it. So tier 1,
we're also
like,
educating me on Twitch while we're here.
It's like, this is a tier 3. It's really expensive.
Oh, so fun. You're too expensive.
No, God, I can't believe anyone wants to pay me money. Subscribed. I subscribed. Where's my thing? Wait, did you subscribe today and I missed it, or was it? No, was it another time? I don't have it in my recent thing. Where's my things? You're so loved and appreciated, River. So I was never thanked either. Yes, you were. You definitely were. I was there when I joined.
Thank you, everyone, for your subscriptions and time.
I literally don't have it on, like... Hold on, let me go back a little bit. I don't have that you subscribed anywhere. Like, in the last, like, couple weeks. Nothing. I don't see it. If you did. Started? But thank you, anyway, if you did.
I have part of my snack here because she didn't tell me how long the pee break was. Well,
so, we're on a schedule. Anyways.
Now I have it on my hands. It's fine.
Alright.
I'm not great at this.
Yeah, so, like, socioeconomic status is a big problem. And again, it honestly comes down to, like, in our society, we care more about making money than we care about people. So...
that's the first problem.
Yeah, and in North America, people of color particularly are impacted by
and
poverty.
indigenous people.
Yeah, so it's like, so guess who has the least accessibility to nutritious foods and gets to then, you know, have more health problems and stuff like that? It's people of color.
Yeah, exactly.
So...
Riverdam says I'm doing great. I hope that was directed at me.
You are doing great.
Thanks.
Good job. Thanks for
I got it off my hands.
Food has never been cheaper than it is now, though. Yeah, but... I mean, I don't know if that's true. I don't not believe you, but it's hard to know. And I think, but what happens is a lot of times it's like with vegetables and stuff, cheapest food has the most calories and the least nutritious calories. Yes, that's fair. But it's like, even if you look at vegetables, it's like often the ones that are least expensive is like iceberg lettuce, which is like doesn't have a whole lot of
things. Plant foods that have richer color are generally more nutritious. So yeah, like people are often like, oh, I'm gonna eat healthy, I'm gonna eat a salad full of iceberg lettuce. So yeah, that's like little to no calories, but also little to no nutritious value too.
Avocados are so expensive.
I was just gonna say avocados is like 2 for $4. That's expensive.
I love avocados.
Like, if the government could subsidize fruits and vegetables over meat and cheese, which those are subsidized, by the way, and they're still, like, expensive. So, just make that comparison. But, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. That's probably, food has gotten more cheaper because it's become
more widespread.
We have
like
more
available.
Yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, I agree with you. But it's still a problem of, like, more nutritious food tends to be more expensive, which is a problem. And like also it's more like the more variety in your diet a lot of times, especially with vegetables and stuff, like the better. So if these 5 things are the cheapest thing and it's always those 5 things, like that means you're eating the same stuff all the time, which is not ideal.
It usually leads to
$23 today at the for 100 meatballs. I don't know what anybody needs 100 meatballs
I was gonna say.
Who cooks for families? People who grew up eating fast food and microwave food will continue doing so as adults.
Exactly. Absolutely. Like we were talking about, food habits are also like heritable, just like genes are. Right?
Absolutely. And then, so just a quick little comparison, and you know more about this than I do, of like North America versus other places. Take it away, Twink.
So in my studies, I actually tried to refer to my notes this morning, but I couldn't find it, what class I learned this in. But just generally, obviously, cultures are differ in many ways, but also in foods, and usually in health outcomes as a result, because you are what you eat. So I've heard before, I don't have the study cited or anything, but you could definitely look this up, but just they've compared, I think, Japanese men who live in Japan, Japanese men who came from Japan to live in America, and then Japanese men that grew up in America, and their health outcomes were so different. And the reason they looked at these 3 different types of people was to look at their diets, because, you know, genetically they should be similar because they're the same race. So it's just different. So I mean, in Japanese culture, they eat soy, fermented foods, fish, little to no dairy, eggs, red meat, right? So that differs widely from North American diets, right? Where we eat red meat, we eat dairy, we eat wheat, we are scared of soy usually. Fermented foods freak us out. Like, so the difference in health outcomes was huge. Very different in metabolic syndrome, which is like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, cardiovascular disease kind of stuff. So it was just so interesting to see a study like this. I wish I'm gonna go look for it after this, but it was just so interesting because they took these people that like seemed to be similar, and then they grew up in different cultures and found out that food really does change your health outcomes. So I find that really interesting.
Meatballs were all I could grab. Oh, which is worrying for other reasons because they were out a lot of foods. That is worrying if all they have is meatballs. Rice, lots and lots of rice. Very salty sometimes.
Rice,
Lots of fish. Yeah, fish is one of the better meats.
Better meats,
in terms of nutrition.
More
and
nutritious.
Health.
Yeah, let's say.
Yeah, we're doing pretty well. We're like 3 out of 7 pages in, and it's been like an hour. It's pretty good.
That's good.
We're rocking.
I don't know how this goes. Rocking. But yeah. Okay.
Usually, I mean, thus far my things are usually like 2 hours, 2.5 hours ish.
Okay.
So now we're gonna talk about, this is a me thing. We're just gonna rapid fire, maybe. So now we're gonna talk about like food and you, and we're gonna kick down my water bottle.
I stood it up and then I kicked it over.
If cooking is seen as the mother's job, then boys will always try to learn. God, that's true.
Totally.
God, that's true.
And quite frankly, I feel like cooking and food and stuff isn't passed down to youth as is. I didn't really learn to cook, I don't think. And I think half of the reason why I stopped eating meat once I got to university, once I moved out of residence and people stopped cooking for me and I had to cook fully for myself, I didn't know how to prepare meat. I did not want to touch raw chicken. I did not want to undercook my meat and kill myself. So I just didn't. I literally bought frozen shrimp and like turkey slices, I'm pretty sure, in my second year, and then it just phased out. I didn't learn, right? So yeah, that's totally fair to say that, yeah, men tend to not learn, especially in a patriarchal society where women take care of everything, right? But then also we need to teach our kids, we need to involve our kids in cooking and foods and learning about all that stuff, because yeah, how else do you learn?
God, we need more life skills just in general.
Anyways, I need to learn how to do my taxes.
God, no, I don't know my taxes. Anyway, but so now we're gonna move a little more. We talked about food itself. We talked about society. We're gonna talk about more on the individual level now. We're gonna talk about food and you and signs your relationship with food needs work. So much trauma. Food trauma is real. Yes, absolutely. Totally. There's so much that can go on, and again, a lot of times it's other underlying issues that are showing up as in food and stuff. I developed an aversion to baked beans and tomato soup because it was all my dad cooked us and much more widespread.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things where it's you eat something and then you get sick from it one time and then you never eat it again.
Yeah. Anyway,
like
so
me and broccoli.
We're I didn't really think about how I want to do this. I just had made a list of questions.
Saw this, yeah.
But we're just gonna kind of go over it quickly and then we'll get into them more later on. But here are some things that you can maybe think about. And we can maybe talk about our own little experiences with that. Yeah. But it's so number one is do you ever feel like you've had to earn food? So this means oh, I can have a cookie, but I have to go for a run first, or I can't have this because I didn't do this. Mm-hmm. Particularly related to eating, counting calories and physical activity
and weighing yourself usually.
Particularly that, yeah. So that's one thing that indicates a problem. Another thing is, are you a picky eater? How willing are you to try new foods? And one thing I wanted to point out that can happen with this is some people have sensory issues, particularly autistic people can have sensory issues related to food and stuff, and that's kind of a different thing, which is we're not going to get a ton into that.
That's totally okay.
We're more talking about I've dated a couple boys in my life who grew up eating meat and potatoes and wouldn't touch a vegetable if their life depended on it.
Meat, potatoes, and dessert.
Yeah, it really bothered me. Anyways, but it's more if you stick with the same very limited palate, it may be because you're afraid of trying new things or afraid of any kind of discomfort. Sweet chili BBQ fructose. Okay. Autistic. I'm now autistic.
Get ripped
Is
on.
That what I said? Yeah, I can't say words. I reward myself if I do something hard. Yeah, so that is something.
That's something. Yeah, we'll
talk about a little bit more later. But we reward ourselves with food, just not for physical activity.
Yeah, or we went to get a medical checkup done that we didn't want to do
together because we're sisters.
That was uncomfortable, and we're gonna get gluten-free, dairy-free, freaking treats.
It was wonderful. Anyways, do you eat more when you're stressed out or upset? Do you eat less when you're stressed out or upset? I stress eat, and if I'm upset, I don't want to eat. Personally.
Yeah, I think when I'm stressed, I don't eat.
Yeah, I think also, there are definitely worse coping mechanisms you can have than, eating more.
Yeah. So don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah,
but there are worse things.
There are also better ones.
Yep, for sure.
how do you deal with cravings? That's a thing we're gonna touch on later. Is it like you have a craving and you always give into it? Do you ignore it even if it like continues to bother you? And like sort of with that, it's like if you want something, do you have, you know, an entire bowl of it? Like, do you have the whole bag?
Yeah,
Like,
do you binge on it, or do you know, fulfill it and then move on?
I like trying new things when I go out, but at home it's probably the same 6 or 7 meals. I mean, to be fair, that's fair. I feel like for me, I also kind of do that, and it's not so much that I don't want to try new things. It's more like this is easier.
Yeah, it's like I definitely have fallback meals. I have common meals that I know how to grocery shop for. I know how to cook, whatever. So that's, and I feel like in this like stressful and fast-paced day and age, that's how you have to do it sometimes, and that's okay. But I love that. Yeah, going out to eat is actually a great way to try new things, and then if you really like that, you could, you know, there's so many recipes online. You can then take that and bring it into your home if you want to.
Wonderful.
Right?
That's a great way to do it. I, especially in the past 2 years, because of my boyfriend, I've tried so many new restaurants and stuff, and it's just been like, now I like making that food and stuff. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
We have, if you have we are going to talk about cravings later, I promise. If you're having a craving, find the underlying thing causing it. For me, the underlying thing causing it is a lack of chocolate.
Me
Absolutely.
Too.
I just want to point out, we have
me eating a piece of chocolate right now.
We have what's called emergency chocolate in our house, which is our stash of chocolate, because we have 3 ladies in this house a lot of the time, and it's always good to have chocolate around.
Love the chocolate.
If you have a craving, just fill your day with stuff and don't get bored and you forget your craving. We will get there.
Yeah, we'll talk about cravings.
I promise. I realize this maybe wasn't the best way to do it, but that's what we're doing, so it's fine.
I like it.
Do you always finish your plate of food, even if you're full and even if you don't like your food? Is that a thing you do? How do you feel eating around other people? Is it an uncomfortable experience? Are you aware of like how you're eating? Do you feel like you're gonna be judged anyway? I wish I had emergency chocolate. Can you share?
How I feel less bad about it. Yes.
We always listen. One time we have like 6 bars of this nice like dark chocolate, plus we have this one with caramel in it. And one time lately we ran out, and it was a panic. It was a nightmare.
Well, I thought it was funny because one time our mom like lately came home with like way more chocolate than usual, and we're like, Mom, like, are you okay? She's like, well, it's usually just emergency chocolate when it's like an everyday thing, but it's pandemic chocolate now. We gotta stock up on this.
Gotta be ready.
Anyways, it was funny. So more about food and you.
Yeah, this is coming back to like the try new things, but like, when's the last time you tried a new food? When's the last time you cooked? Did you enjoy it? Like, and this getting into like your background and stuff. It's like, was food always available in your house growing up? Like food accessibility. Did you try new things growing up, or was it always the same kind of meals? Yeah. Did you have to finish your plate before you could have dessert? Yeah. And did people ever like make you feel bad for what you did or didn't eat? These are all things that can indicate problem. And this is one we both definitely feel. Do you have any allergies, intolerances, or digestive problems that make eating just
a little
frustrating?
More stressful.
How do you handle that? Yeah. And basically at the baseline is, does food ever make you feel guilty or ashamed or, you know, emotionally uncomfortable, basically? Because that indicates you got some work to do.
Yeah.
All right, what I'm hearing is I don't share enough chocolate with River. I must fix this problem. That's definitely true. There's always chocolate to share in our house.
Is River their name? I like that name.
Is Emily?
Food. Hi, River.
Food is the worst. I hate eating. Well, that indicates you may have some work to do, maybe.
Sometimes we're forced to. Yeah, the force thing, again, as with anything, it doesn't breed.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So we're going to start with, that's complicated as to...
I'm new to this online world, okay?
Yes. It's all very complicated, where, you know, names, what are names? Names are weird and gross and changeable. Anyways. Wads.
I gave you that name.
She did. By the way, if you're ever curious, so the queen part came from something else, but the Waddles part of my name and Wads all came from this wonderful lady. So this is
the queen. You just named your damn self the queen.
Did that my damn
Don't even
self.
try to lie.
So we're gonna talk about just redefining how you like see food, and then we're gonna talk about your relationship with your body. All I know is that choosing your own name is hard. I feel that.
Yeah, how are you meant to like name like a baby? You know, that's kind of hard.
God, like picking your own name would be hard. But like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Picking anyone's name, your own, like anyone, that's like
But like,
a
try,
big
I don't know,
decision.
try to pick someone else's name to be like, this is gonna frickin' define you.
I've heard that people like have had a baby and like for 3 days the baby doesn't have a name because they haven't decided.
I'm not naming my
It's just
baby
funny.
at all.
It's like, this is my new baby.
Baby's name is Baby.
I literally just went like this as if I was holding a baby like this.
I would get in
Oh,
trouble
boy.
for eating slowly, so when I was younger, my solution was to eat less. As a result, I had slight nutrition problems and was underweight
bunny.
for a while. I recently was able to fit my goal weight, and I'm
Yay.
very proud, and you're thick as hell, and you're adorable. Anyways,
Congrats. That's so
sorry for the
great.
block of text.
But it's very good, yeah, to like recognize that. Like someone had just said they were forced to eat, and then yeah, you were just saying that you were a slow eater, you know. So we all have these.
I once
places
met a
we come
Joe
from.
King. Her parents really called that. I like to come back to someone who makes fun of your own name. Where'd you get your name? Did your mom give it to you? My mom did give me a name. Anyways. So we're going to talk about redefining how you see food. And also, I'll wait for that one, actually. I get excited, and I'm like, I want to go over here. When
I'll
we're not
tell you
there
all the
yet.
topics right now.
So we're, like, just as a very basic thing, food is not inherently good or bad. No food is inherently good or bad, just at all.
And it doesn't make you a good or bad person for eating food either.
Absolutely. And like I've been saying, like, in a way, usually how we feel about food, our patterns of eating, that kind of stuff, reflects our own issues and personality and so on and so forth.
And on the good bad labels, I find that I'm on Instagram and I follow a lot of like-minded nutrition people, but what are you laughing at? Oh, I forget there's other things going on.
Yeah, sorry. Continue.
And I just find that people often like to say, oh, here's a healthy whatever. And I'm like, unhealthy versus healthy, like what makes a food healthy and unhealthy? Like, to me, unhealthy might be a food that's going to cause my stomach to flare up, but like you might be able to eat that food, so that would be healthy for you. Like, you know, like I find the term healthy and unhealthy just so like it differs for everyone. So I find those labels also just not helpful.
Yeah. Like, you may have noticed, even in
and kind
this,
of shameful, right?
Yeah,
Like,
in this,
oh, that's unhealthy.
In this conversation, I have been trying to say, you know, nutritionally valuable or not, or like terms more like that instead of unhealthy, healthy, because like you're saying, it's like, oh, so healthy equals good, unhealthy equals bad, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which is not what it is, because all food
it's like
has value.
it's like saying good and bad. It's just trying to hide it as more food related terms.
Yeah. And all food has value, even, you know, stuff we call quote unquote junk food, which again, like even the term junk food, like that's not a very helpful term because
then you feel like junk for eating junk.
Yeah, exactly.
When not junk.
When you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And just we have this weird restrictiveness about like dessert foods or like junk food where it's like it's this thing we get like doled out in small portions and we have to earn it.
Yeah.
And it's only a sometimes thing and it's like you can't just have it when you feel like it because apparently like that's what it is to be an adult. I don't like that. All foods have value except for Brussels sprouts. How dare you?
You sound like our dad.
Our
That's
dad
so
hates
funny.
Brussels sprouts. He'll eat almost anything.
Anytime we have something we don't want him to eat, he's like, "What's this?" We're like, "There's Brussels sprouts in it. Don't eat it."
Yeah.
Generally doesn't work, but anyways.
Yeah. So, along with the just like all food has value, it's not good or bad inherently. Like we're going halfway with it without.
Yeah.
Sorry. People who are dieting tell you what they are and aren't eating definitely brings feelings like shame.
Absolutely, because you're sitting there like, oh, you're
we're
not
the-
eating this?
we're the same
Okay,
person.
no problem.
That's gross. We just said that
You're just-
perfectly in sync.
Did we say that?
We say absolutely perfectly in sync in the exact same way. Okay.
I don't know you.
But like to start off with, like calories, like you were saying before, it's like in terms of base level fuel, calories are calories, and sometimes
That's all you can do.
If your choice is between eating like literally like a chocolate bar or something or nothing, like God, just choose the chocolate bar, please.
Yeah. It's not.
Eat food.
It's not that serious.
You need sushi. Sushi's wonderful.
Yeah.
I set that point. I'm good. I'm losing track now.
I was gonna say, I need to follow
And
better.
again, like it why I tried to say like nutritional value and stuff is because all food has value and it may not be nutritional value, but it may have other value. Like we eat chocolate, like I have at least one piece a
That's
day.
valuable
And it's
to
like
me.
it feels good.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good. It's a pleasant experience. So it's like it still has value.
Yeah. Or on my days where I'm so stressed out and I like just don't want to eat because I'm too busy and I want to get something done, it's like, well, it has value if it just provides me with energy in any shape or form. Like just get some food into you and that's good enough for right now.
Yeah. Sometimes like and sort of at the base level, it's like, you know, when I was, you know, deep in the depression and stuff like that, that's what it came down to. It was like just eat anything.
Just survive.
Like, just...
Yeah.
There's a reason Scout Hikes tell you to bring chocolate bars. Their calories could save your life.
Exactly.
Please for sushi. Yeah, like, so that's kind of step one.
Yeah.
That's big step one, is just all food has value in different ways, and in different ways for different people.
Yeah.
And like, what I think what it is too, like, this is again just coming back to like just a general way that I encourage people to live their life, and I sometimes don't, but is like, generally you want to try to make decisions that benefit you long term, but sometimes you do need to make decisions with just short term benefits, which means eating the chocolate or having the piece of cake or whatever, because sometimes we just need that, and that's totally okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your point.
What's my point?
I'll highlight where we are.
I think.
How about that?
I know I'm not good at following along. I kind of said this though, but just like in our fast-paced world, you just need to survive. Like, which is funny because that's like what we talked about food. The very first thing we said about food is like survival as basis, and like it's funny because we're like, oh, we've evolved and we have all this food around us and blibbity blue, but then like our environment is so stressful and fast-paced that sometimes it's like you still go into survival mode. You're like, I just got to eat and do whatever else I need to do. So which
also,
is okay.
hi Selkie, welcome. Because you cheat day is too far away. We're gonna talk about that, about cheat days and stuff like that, in not right this second. soon. Yeah. This is where we are. I know things.
Yeah. Food is supposed to serve you, not the other way around.
Oh God.
So no life decisions to be made based on food. Like, don't opt out of something because you're like, oh, I've like met my calorie count for the day, or like, no, I've like eaten too many carbs for today, whatever, or like I already had a treat like 2 days ago, so I can't have one now. It's like associating that kind of stuff, like missing out on life experiences because of food, just worsens the relationship with food, right?
For
like
sure.
And then you grow to resent it, and then you get sad, and then you get stressed. Like, it's just not worth it. Like, is all of that stuff worth it? Like, I would rather enjoy an experience than save 200, like, I don't even know, 200 calories. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. God, I don't know why that chat doesn't like scrolling up properly. It doesn't matter if you have a day of bad food. It only matters if you eat like it like 5 times a week. Don't give me any ideas. I'm gonna be sitting in the living room screaming later about why dinners. I was literally, I had a moment when I was writing these notes where I was like, oh, I can make like a Beauty and the Beast reference here, but then I remembered that it's the furniture that serves you and not the food, and I was like,
oh, the food isn't like, I am here now.
Dang nabbit. Yeah, so
I like it.
One big thing too, to kind of go back to like, do you have a healthy relationship with food, is like, you should not be thinking about food all the time. You should be thinking about food when you're hungry, or like when something like reminds you of food. Like, that's normal. But if you're thinking about food all the time, and like, I'm not trying to like bag on you, Selkie, I can't say words, but if you're thinking something like, oh, like the day where I get to have a treat is so far away, like, that doesn't feel good to me. No. I don't want to live my life like that.
Like, some days I like, my body tells me when I need a treat. Some days I don't even think about it, and some days it's like, nope, today's the day. Today is a treat day for me. So yeah, that can be, I definitely not recommend. I urge you to reflect on your relationship with food.
Yeah, for me it was joke. That's good. I just wasn't trying to be like, oh, okay, shame on you.
Yeah,
shame.
Yeah.
I was thinking about girls all the time right now. What's your option on those concepts and self-control? I know some people who will completely mess up their diet if they indulge oats. We're going to talk about that when we get to cravings, and that's actually a point that I didn't put on there, but I do want to talk about, which is just like, you get back on the wagon when you fall off. You were supposed to preheat the oven and throw yourself in an hour. You were selectively
selective listening.
That's what we're doing. Yeah, but along with that, like, food is not literally supposed to serve you. It means, you know,
serve a purpose for you.
Food, like, we kind of said this, but food is not, it's not meant to be a punishment, and it shouldn't be a reward. Specifically, it shouldn't be a reward for exercising or food related things. Yeah. It's different. You can use food as a good motivator for other things. Like Twink was saying, like, you know, I did a really hard thing today. I did something that was really scary. Like, yeah, we went.
And I want to reward myself with food. Like, I would kind of, in that sense, I'd be like, oh, good job, me. I'm going to have, like, a relaxing bath. Or, like, the next time I do it, it might be like, yeah, I definitely want, like, a treat from my favorite, like, bakery or whatever. So it's not it's not like always food as a reward, just like a self-care, like little treat yourself day, you know, like it, but just in terms of exercise, like to be like, I have to make up those calories, like that's where it becomes damaging and harmful to your relationship with food.
Yeah. Hi, Rinium. It's so good to see you. Thank you for coming. She was on a different Mindset Monday, Rinium.
Oh, fun. Hi.
Yeah, so lovely to have you in chat. If they had a medal for being mean, the winner would be him. Mr. Grimm. I'm sure you're making a reference that I don't understand, but that's fine.
But yeah, like food can
Muppets.
be a part.
Muppets.
Oh.
In my channel. Okay.
Food can be a part of celebration. So like I would kind of associate like celebrating doing something hard, right?
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's a better way to say it. Instead of a reward for doing something hard, it's like celebrating yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's a better way to say it.
I agree.
Using it as a reward for exercising, not great.
Yeah.
Using it to celebrate like yourself, your loved ones, doing something hard.
No,
like
I agree with
I
that.
like that better.
I think especially because I was thinking about this too at some point because it kind of didn't fit, which is like I have tried in the past to be like, oh, I'm going to do this like work thing or like study thing and then I can have a treat. And it doesn't always work because sometimes I just start thinking about it and I'm like, well, if I don't get it done, I don't get it. And like, again.
And then exactly, like reward as opposed to
I think celebration is better because again, it's not supposed to be an every time thing. It's just supposed to be like, I'm really proud of myself for doing that. And I would love to have a slice of cake right now. I fucking love cake. Anyway. Or when you're with your friend, you have a good time. One piece of cake is a cherry on top. Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's like, if you, again, it's like if you're out and someone's like, do you want to split a dessert with me? And you want to, but your first thought is like, oh, well, I can or I shouldn't. Like, just
heck it.
Have the
literally anything like that. It's like, is that going to be significant to you in 5 years? Is that going to be significant to you in 1 year? Is it going to be significant to you in a month? No, it's not.
Thank you for the Twitch Prime subscription, Radium. I super appreciate that.
Subscription.
Thank you so much. Subscription.
I don't know what any of these things mean, but it sounds exciting.
It's the money thing. I get the money. Fancy.
Love that.
Oh, and I know I'm out of water. Hold on.
Can't hydrate.
I can do it.
I
think there's water in my water bottle. Hold on. Sorry for the loud sounds. If I just hit the microphone, I'm sorry.
No, I don't have water. Remember to stay hydrated. You're so right.
Sippy.
It's kind of like toasty in here.
Yeah, it is warm in here.
Yeah, don't have to justify food with exercise.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll have to talk to this a little bit. Yeah, again, like, sort of the same thing, but it's like, exercise is maybe a whole nother topic for another time, but you, like, exercise is important, and moving your body every day is super important, but it shouldn't be connected with food at all.
Other than if you work out, please fuel yourself afterwards so you don't crash because you just used all your fuel source. That's the only thing I would say to that. But I agree. They should essentially be separate. Just consider your activity level with the amount of food that you eat to make sure you keep your energy levels up.
Chocolate fondue on the birthday. Abso-friggin-lutely.
That's right.
Yeah. And so in terms of what you can do and like not things you should do, but things you can do is one of the best things to do is just arming yourself with knowledge, and like watching this is a great first step because we have this almost expert person.
Kind of knowledgeable.
I
know a couple things.
Yeah, and this is, I put question marks for this one, so knowledge, go.
So you arm yourself with knowledge about making smart food choices for yourself. Like we talked about the psychology of marketing, like kind of be able to see through those label claims and the fad diets. Like, notice what's going on in the media. Notice what's a popular thing to be talking about. Notice what's on all these label claims, but then, like, compare products side by side and go, okay, what's actually different about these? Like, what are they claiming? So this is kind of where I talked about earlier, reading nutrition labels is super important. Like, you want to be checking the serving sizes when you're comparing products, and you want to look for important things like fiber and vitamins and minerals. So that's kind of a way you can arm yourself to be a conscious consumer, so you're not just buying into and relying on these label claims, right? And then what we were saying before too, just there's lots of scientific literature. There are lots of studies about food. So again, you don't have to rely on like news websites that always like amplify the most random and maybe not even accurate things. Social media posts and posts by people like influencer people online, I always suggest that you check people's credentials. And even when you check their credentials, like I always think that you should double check and do your own research. So I personally like to read people's things when they cite scientific studies. So it'll look something like bracket last name. Sometimes it'll say et al, et space al period, because that just means there's more authors, and they'll mention a year. So that's kind of the science way of referencing this article, being like, so a study by these people showed that, or then you say something and that's the reference at the end. So that's something I look for, especially online in social media stuff, because a lot of people like to just throw out, oh, studies found that. But again, like we discussed earlier, is that biases can be very prevalent, and reporting bias, you know, personal biases. And then for accurate online information, I would stay the darn heck away of news articles. Like, again, reporting bias, you can just kind of report on whatever the heck you want. You can read one sentence and then just make a whole news article out of it, and it might not be accurate, right? And the people writing these articles might not know how to decipher this information. So I always go to things like PubMed is an online scientific database, so that might be over some people's heads, but it's kind of helpful to read like an abstract and conclusion to get a summary, but like we said, those can also be biased. And then I also look at like government websites and university and medical school websites. So Harvard Med actually has a lot of information online, like they have that Harvard My Healthy Eating Plate that we talked about earlier. I also like some online sources like WebMD or Healthline, because they cite their articles that they got their information from, and they often have experts, like registered dietitians or people with master's degrees writing their information. So I find that stuff really helpful to look out for, and that's a way you can arm yourself with knowledge to see through all this garbage online and in the media about food.
Yeah, I want to make a couple points here. I see what's going on in chat, so just give me a second. But
I wasn't making it.
One thing I want to point out with this, and just this in general, is like, just like everything having to do with mental health and just a lot of progress stuff, like doing this stuff requires effort from you, and that can be hard. So be gentle on yourself, but do understand that it does take work. Lockdown has definitely affected people's ability to exercise. How they people
and
need to
seeing people being productive online, and I'm eating this way and exercising this way, it's like so demoralizing sometimes.
Fitness and food are separate is a bit of a strong word in my opinion. I know people I would like to address that, because what I meant, I think I probably didn't make my point very clear, is what I meant is you should, like, your food goals and your exercise goals should not feed into each other, by which I mean, like, if I don't hit this goal, I don't get to have this. If I don't do this, I get to have this. Not that I don't think they're related, because they're
absolutely related.
Yeah, totally. I just meant
don't eat based on your calories from your activity. Kind of thing.
And if something isn't working, or you miss a day, or you whatever on one thing, that shouldn't affect the other one. That's what I meant.
Basically, it's like, don't burn 500 calories at the gym. Make note of that, and then go eat your 500 calories. Like, that's not why you're working out, and that's also not why you're eating.
Because I absolutely agree with you, Raj. I just didn't make my point clear, to be fair. Cigarette companies sponsored studies for years. That's exactly. That's why you gotta check. If money is at stake, companies will do whatever they can. These are all great source options. I half tuned out because there was a lot of words she just said, but I have her, so anyone in the UK, NHS Choices is totally impartial. Awesome. 9 out of 10 doctors agree eating keto is better for you versus not eating it all. I love that. That's absolutely.
I read the first half of that and I was like, I don't want to talk about keto.
Missing a day doesn't matter. It's about the long term. Hello, Bun That Games. Just got here what we're talking about. We are talking about food psychology and stuff. Right now we're talking about how we can start to redefine how we see food, what you can do to improve your relationship with food. Basically, even that comment, you've raised an interesting point about the assumptions make when people seeking results. My exercise is so I can run around at football.
Exactly.
Without getting a breath, not to get so many habits.
And you can also see food that way of like, how is this food helping me? And how is exercise helping me in my everyday life? Not just like
for me, it's easier to be on low carb and have a cheat day.
PCOS,
and I just don't feel good after eating too much sugar, but I'm not strict. That's
listening
totally,
to your body, right? Exactly. Like we feel better not eating gluten and dairy, right? But like, for example, this piece of chocolate right here, this caramel, the tiny little bit in here, definitely has like some milk powder in it, but like, I want it, so I'm gonna eat it. But I know what the repercussions might be, listen to your body, Yeah, do what makes you feel good. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think like we kind of talked about this. You talked about this sort of at the start, and I kind of agree with like Selkia on this. Of like sometimes like we try our best, but it's like sometimes I just want to eat the full gluten, full dairy like pizza, and that's kind of my cheat day. But it's more of a like I'm just gonna have to deal with the consequences day.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah. Do you think there's ever... Hold on. Do you think there's ever...
going on in chat.
Oh.
Sorry.
Scrolling.
Gotta head up. Thanks for the interesting conversation. No problem. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for contributing.
Do you think there's ever a good reason to have a fasting day? How do you feel about fasting?
It's funny because so you've probably heard of intermittent fasting, which is generally a way to, you can use it to control blood sugar, you can use it to control your metabolism kind of thing. You can even use it just to give your body a routine of knowing when to expect food. And then also what the time periods that you don't eat, your body's kind of like cleansing itself and getting rid of debris and yada yada, healing and all that. But something funny is when I have a stomach upset, and I can't seem to tackle it, like I've tried, you know, cutting out some aggravating foods, and I've tried, like I have this ongoing, anything I eat, it's just stomach ache. It's so frustrating. So I actually will have a fasting day. I don't really call it that. I call it like let my body heal day. But sometimes, yeah, I'll wake up and I won't eat. But for me, my blood sugar gets really low. So by like, if I don't eat by like 3 o'clock, I am like in a complete brain fog. So again, just listening to my body. But sometimes, yeah, I get so frustrated that it's like, okay, I'm just not going to eat because even plain wasn't working. Like my body's trying to tell me something. It doesn't want food right now. Like, I don't know. So yeah, I'll just like lots of fluids and stuff. Just kind of listen to your body. But yeah, I don't think it's good to deprive yourself. But if it works for you, no problem. But generally, to keep your energy levels up, you need to eat, is what I think.
Yeah. I often struggle with my relationship with food due to body dysmorphia. I try my best to listen to my body, but it makes it difficult to eat normally, and I find myself under eating quite frequently. That can be hard. And I think this is something that we're getting into. The next thing we're going to talk about, by the way, is understanding cravings and understanding, like part of this is going to be kind of understanding when your body is telling you something that isn't actually going to serve you, because we can get into habits, including food habits. And like you're saying, sometimes our bodies are just super confusing, and so you don't know what the right thing is to do. So why do we have cravings?
Why do we have cravings? Well, I mean, Miss Psychology, a lot of times it's just about that indulgence thing, right? Like the pleasure centers in your brain. Like you eat something that makes you feel good, your taste buds love it, you get this little boost of serotonin, whatever, and dopamine. Yeah. Ooh, I know some things. I think, right?
Dopamine
is that the addictive one?
Yes. Yeah, that's that.
See, we like we know things, but
don't
we don't
quote me on that. I'm pretty
really
sure dopamine is the one where we get the hits and they get.
Yeah, I think that's the addictive center. Anywho's. But also it could be your body telling you stuff. I actually looked this, like telling you about nutrient deficiencies. I actually looked this up this morning, and it's more likely like sleep deprivation, nutrition, you know, kind of being wonky, high stress. So things that like can change your hormones and change stuff in your body can definitely cause cravings. And then also you can also be you can also get cravings in certain contexts, right? So like if you're watching a movie, you're like, oh, I need something to snack on. Like that's just totally something I can relate to. And I feel like growing up, when we were reading Archie comics, we would always love to eat cereal, right? Like that's just like it's just context dependent thing. So cravings can be, again, just like anything, different, like have different underlying issues for everyone. Because we're all different.
Yeah, and you did kind of touch on this, but we talked about this last week when I was talking about with River, just how about like brains are kind of dumb, and we like it's not just animals that can be conditioned to associate things with other things. It's us too, and a lot of like, you know, marketing, a lot of like food commercials and stuff like that. It's literally made to make you hungry. I was watching. I'm okay. Last night with two of my friends, I was watching MRE videos. I think what are they called? They're like meals ready to eat or something like that. They're like military rations.
There's videos?
Yeah, I was watching videos about this, and they're not like the most appetizing looking of meals, but even so, just watching somebody else open up food and be eating food made me want food. And then I went and ate food, and then I just felt worse after.
I have a thought. That's my signal for when
I just want to look
someone's
at chat
talking
really
and I think about it.
I just want to take a look at chat really quick.
Wait, I had a thought.
When I'm a stressed not eater, when I am under stress, I just stop to eat. Yeah, I kind of seem to go back and forth because it's either I'm chasing the dopamine or I'm so, like, the anxiety makes me not hungry. Yeah. Next time y'all have a break, you better fill up your water.
Yeah, well, I really have to pee now that I'm
dopamine makes you happy. I think, like, serotonin also affects your happiness, but dopamine, I think
is the actual
dopamine makes you, like, chase things. Yeah. Like, when I see ramen and anime, I just need ramen. Exactly. Monkey brain. Why are we doing that? It's because I have two friends that I love, but who like to look at silly things.
Okay, but something. So you watched that of food, and then you wanted to eat.
Yeah.
But you didn't, like, your body wasn't necessarily telling you that.
Yeah.
And then you didn't feel good after you ate.
Yeah. I like in that situation, I got like some fruit and stuff because I was like, if I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna eat something that's like decent. But then afterwards, I just kind of, like, I didn't feel bad. I just felt kind of bloated because it was like, I didn't really need to eat.
Okay, nutrition fun fact that nobody asked for. Like, a third of your digestion is actually is triggered before you even eat. So thinking about food, seeing food, smelling food, like, while you're cooking the food, you're, like, getting all the aromas and stuff. So that actually does trigger your salivary glands to create saliva because that has stuff that digests your food. And then it actually does secrete stomach acid. So a third of that, so you watching that food and thinking about food made your body go, oh, I want food. I'm ready for food. Like, I want digestion. But then the rest of it didn't come afterwards, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't like your body, that was just because you were watching something with food. It wasn't your body telling you. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I think, like, there's also something in the idea that if we see other people doing something, we get unconscious triggers to copy it.
Totally.
Yeah, mirroring. That's a big thing we do. We have things in our brain called mirror neurons that want to copy, like, and I believe it's something along the lines of, like, watching someone do something can activate the same sort of areas in your brain as if you were doing it. I think it's something along the lines of that. Anyways, but I think with cravings, like, first of all, it's good to understand where they're coming from again, because it's like, oh, I just watched a video of people eating food. That's an appetitive stimulus that made me want to eat. Like, maybe this isn't the time to eat.
Yeah.
I think in general, for me, if I have cravings for something, every once in a while I get a craving for, like, McDonald's chicken nuggets and fries or something like that. That's like, so literally funny. Like, once every couple months. And when I feel like that, I just go get them.
Yeah.
And, like, so we're going to talk a little bit more about, like, times where maybe we should not listen to our cravings, but I'm going to start with, like, at the baseline, like, if you have a craving, just, like, go with it. Like, be aware of what might be causing it, but just go with it. And, like, we have one kind of chips in the house, and sometimes I just want chips, so I just have chips. But we can talk about, like, that's like the baseline. But then we want to talk about, like, if cravings are a problem for you, where you are eating too much, or you're eating stuff that's really high in fat, high in sugar, high in salt, whatever, then we need to go a bit, like, deeper into this. When was the last time you saw a McDonald's advert where the end of the advert saying, "I'm loving it"? I don't even know. I don't remember the last time I got a McDonald's ad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what are some of the ways we can reduce our own temptations? Cravings. With reducing the temptation.
We can remove temptation.
Well, you always think it, right? I'm loving it. Oh my god, I do love it. Wild.
Psychology. So some of the ways we can kind of help control our cravings and not, binge into it, but still fulfill that craving, is removing temptation. So buy less low nutrient food. So like she said, we only have like 1 or 2 bags of chips and like one thing of dark chocolate, probably 2.
We have we have 2 kinds of dark chocolate, but we have like several of them because. Yes. But when we have them, we have like 1 piece.
But I was gonna say that's probably not something we are prone to binging on. We like 1 piece. We know we like 1 piece. Yeah. But yeah, you can also buy better made versions. So instead of Kit Kats to fulfill your chocolate craving, you can reach for something with higher. Was it cocoa? Like 70% dark chocolate. Yeah. Anyways, like a dark chocolate. Just because it's a little more nutritious, but it still might feed that craving for you.
Don't touch Kit Kats.
Yeah, and then another thing would be putting it somewhere that is not as accessible. So we in our house put like nuts and seeds and fruits and veggies just like out on the counter like at all times basically, but the chips are like up in this cupboard where you have to like actually go actively seek them, and they're like higher up, so put them somewhere where it's not super accessible.
And like you can make, like, honestly, like if it's a problem for you, like literally make it like you have to go get a chair to go get it. Because then it's like by the time you have gone through all that, you may be like, I don't think this was
not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And another big thing in our society is being aware of mindless eating. So yeah, like when you're binging on Netflix or you're scrolling on your phone,
watching a Twitch stream.
Yeah, right now. Just mindlessly eating, like you're not enjoying that food, right? You're just sitting there like a robot, like not even registering that you're eating it, which is also bad for your digestion, by the way. But that's just something, we are a distracted society, like we just are. So that's one thing to be mindful of. And also be aware of your triggers, like stress.
Yeah. So being aware of your triggers, that can be stuff like stress. It can also be like kind of what we're talking about. It's like, probably if I was reading an Archie comic, I would be thinking about cereal. And it's like, so knowing, or like, like watching a movie and popcorn. Mm-hmm. Popcorn's actually pretty good as a snack. It just, if you don't put a shite ton of butter on it.
Essentially air.
Anyways, it's essentially air. But sorry, but just being aware of like, okay, like I always want this one thing when I'm doing this thing. Like maybe that's not a sign I actually want it. It's just a sign I need to. Like,
just notice the patterns kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah, but actually I do like popcorn if I'm in the mood. Sometimes I'm in the mood to like sit there and or like sometimes I sit down to study and I like really don't want to and I need a study snack to just like get me going. I love popcorn because it's something that's just not super filling and not super calorie or nutrient dense, so you just kind of go for it.
I have some feelings about corn because it doesn't corn,
who taught you this?
Is just corn is good. It's just like it just goes right through you. There's no like very little nutritional value because it just goes. It's not bad for you.
Do you know what kind of fiber it is?
It's I can never remember. It's insoluble. I just can't remember. I remember what they do. I just can't remember which one.
Insoluble fiber is something that you don't digest. It just adds bulk to keep things moving, basically.
Yeah, which is fine. It's just one of those things. I'm like, it's literally just a vehicle for salt and butter, which is sometimes what you need.
I was like, which isn't always a problem.
It's not always a problem. It's just like, it's just not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So something else about just being aware of mindless eating is if you're going to sit there and mindlessly eat, like, when I have a study snack, I won't bring the whole big ass bag of popcorn with me. I put it in a bowl so that when I get to the end of the bowl, it's like, okay, we're done that snack now.
Yeah. It's very easy. Again, it's about the thing being easy. If you want chips and you have the big bag of chips and you put them in a little bowl and you put it back and you finish it and you're like, I kind of want more.
Close it up, you put it back,
it's already like more effort to go get it, which is versus if you have the whole bag out, you're way more likely to eat more.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We swap,
and mindlessly get to the bottom of the bag.
I could swap the tin food space for the crisp and chocolate. That's a good idea.
I love that.
We swapped crisp or popcorn a while back. Not sure if it made a difference, but hopefully that popcorn, like as a snack,
crunchy, salty,
it's pretty good. Like because it's mostly air.
We like to put our own like little concoctions on it too, like nutritional yeast because it's cheesy but nutritious, and like dill sometimes and garlic powder. Ooh, it can get real good.
We also just have like salt and pepper popcorn right now, and I love it.
What's the brand called?
I don't know. I don't
remember.
Yeah. Did we cover all of this? I think
we did.
Yeah, more or less. Oh, and I mean,
if you're a stress eater,
if you're like, this is kind of just going back to knowing your triggers. Cajun spice popcorn. That sounds really good.
Ooh.
Is like if you know you're a stress eater, then it's a good idea to look into other stress reducing activities. And it's like, maybe you can do yoga or something like that, or like meditation and stuff. And it's like, if you're still craving it afterwards, have a little bit.
Or like journaling. I find that helpful when I'm stressed, when lots is going on. I know I'm getting into it. I know.
She won't meditate, but we're getting there.
But just like kind of like a mind dump thing, or little yoga, little exercise video, go for a walk. Like try to deal with that shit that's going on in your head and your heart, Like food is not always the answer. It's just kind of like the coping mechanism and the cover up.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this a good place for a pee break?
Yeah,
because I drank 2 things.
All right, and I will go fill up my water in the. So we'll be back
and finish
in a couple of minutes.
Bye. Bye.
We're back, and we're going to talk about our last section for the day. And thank you, gaming expert, for coming. Hope you have a great day.
Yeah, thanks for
All
your
right.
contribution. Why do you have an earmuffin?
It's so I can hear my stream to make sure that because sometimes I forget to unmute myself or something like that.
Oh.
So I just have it up.
Is it like lagging though in your ear?
There's a delay.
Isn't that so confusing?
It is, but also it just means that I'm used to it. I mostly just tune in. It's mostly just so I can be like, oh, I forgot to turn on the audio for this or whatever.
Okay, I see.
Anyway,
Very
so
interesting.
we talked about sort of redefining your relationship with food and stuff like that, and we're gonna finish off with, it's still kind of about food, but we're gonna talk about redefining your relationship with your body, because honestly that's where a lot of your food problems probably come from, is your relationship with your body. Oh,
Bun That Games followed you.
Thank you for the follow, Bun That Games. I appreciate it. Oh my god. We're like, wait. Oh, it's not. We are so close to 100. I don't know how many at this point, but it's real close.
That's exciting.
It's real close. I know.
That's a lot of people.
Super exciting. 100 people think I'm cool enough to follow.
I was gonna say, you're not that entertaining.
I don't. Okay, I think that's.
We got
wrong.
96.
No, I was at 95, and there's been like 2 or 3 today. I think there's been 2 so far today, so I'm probably at 97. Exciting.
Wow.
Okay. Anyways, redefining our relationship with our body. So we have sort of talked about this throughout, and we talked about it on the last little bit. But one really big thing is just like kind of the mindful eating thing. So, like, if you can, when you're eating, do nothing but eat, or like, like chatting with people is great, but it's like.
Yes, social, like face-to-face is different, but scrolling on your phone and binging Netflix while you eat is not doing you any favors. You're not enjoying the food, so if that's what you're craving, like the likelihood that you'll want more later is high because you're not enjoying it, and it's really bad for your digestion as well.
Oh, thank you for the gifted sub, Warrior Girl, and congrats to Has the Brew for the sub.
So fun.
It cut off on my screen. It cut off the W till the end, so I was like, "Has a brew?"
Yeah.
Anyway, gifted sub. Thank you so much. Yeah, I will point out to say I do still sometimes like watch something and eat food, because sometimes it's just a comfort thing, but it's just something to try not to do all the time, because it can really disconnect you from what you're actually doing. And I like trying to, find enjoyment in the food process. Like I now have a routine in the morning, and part of the routine is I always make oatmeal, and sometimes I make it slightly differently, but I always make oatmeal, and it's just a very comforting thing to have a routine where I'm making food that I really enjoy. I'm excited about it when I wake up. Even if I'm not hungry, I'm looking forward to eating, doing that kind of thing. And there's always like places, like I find cooking to be kind of exhausting personally, but there's, oh my god, and thank you Bunny for the another gifted tier 1 sub, and that one's so for Selkie. Congrats, Selkie. and welcome to the WOD squad. Oh god, I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
So excited.
I'm so excited. What was I saying? Oh yeah, and like there's always things you can do. Like I find cooking to be exhausting, but it's like there's always ways you can simplify it. A lot of times we think of cooking as like you need so many different ingredients and stuff like that, but it's like making yourself, like doing something simple, like making yourself eggs in the morning can be, a great step towards eating a little bit better. In all honesty,
I cook with a lot of the same ingredients. Like a lot of the same vegetables, and like change up the base, change up the protein, and I have like 5 different meals.
Yeah. I think too, if you haven't learned to cook, or you really don't cook, it can be really, really daunting for sure. And so having like it does require a little bit of trial and error, but like some people were saying before, like having those like 5 or 6 like basic, easy to make meals you like meals, is a wonderful like fallback to do. What if you can't cook but you can grill? Then you have to be like my mom and put everything on the grill.
Yeah, you can put anything on the grill.
Yeah,
love that.
And they're like, with guilt and shame related to eating, a lot of times that requires like some deeper exploration, which may mean like going to therapy. That's always something I recommend if people can, to go to therapy, but also it may just be like, journaling more about the guilt and shame, sitting with that feeling when you have it, and being like, why does this happen?
Noticing the thoughts when they come up.
Yeah. meditating, if you were here last week.
And then this kind of rolls into like being present with food, but then as you're being present with food, you need to listen to your body. Like your body will tell you when you're hungry most times. Sometimes like we're too fight or flight mode for our body to do that. It's not going to tell us that we need food because it's stressed out about something else. But if that's the case, I like to just kind of go by time of day to make sure I'm eating. But essentially eat when you're hungry and stop when you've had enough. For some reason, lately, I keep making the same amount of food that I usually eat, and lately I haven't been able to finish it. Like I'm like I really want to because it's so tasty and I love food, but it's like I can't. So oftentimes I just like put it in a little Tupperware and eat it in like even an hour, right? Like I feel like I get this guilt because I don't like to waste food. I don't know where that came from, but like I don't want to waste food, so that's my thing of like finishing what's on my plate. Like I don't want to waste it.
Yeah,
I'm a big leftovers girl. That's different. I usually make way too much food like for dinner so that I do have leftovers. Like that's intentional. But like, yeah, when I make like oatmeal in the morning, I have like this much oatmeal left, and I'm like, well, I don't want to throw it out. Like I just feel that guilt. But just listen to your body. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think along with that, it does sometimes, especially if you don't have a great relationship with body, you're very used to not listening to your body. It can take some time and some routine built up of like you say, like eating at the times of day when you should be eating even if you're not hungry, and that can just be like eating something small. I often have the thing, I mean, I've been eating breakfast a lot later than I used to, but sometimes it's just like, well, I have to go to work and I have to eat something, and that's sometimes you do have to sort of
supporting
like,
your energy levels for later. Another thing is I've had digestive issues for a while, so I have hunger pains right now, so I'm like, yes. But for a while I didn't have hunger pains. I think it was probably in the middle of school and cheerleading practices and like whatever. But I would notice that I would have such bad brain fog by a certain point if I didn't eat within a certain amount of time. So just be aware of other things that might be going on to tell you you're hungry. It might not be your stomach grumbling.
Yeah. I don't know if I really even get hungry anymore. It's more just like, it literally now is like, it's not I get hungry, it's an hour after I should have eaten, I feel like I'm gonna pass out.
I would call that brain foggish.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like it like my head hurts. It's not like you say. It's not like, oh, my tummy hurts, I'm hungry. It's literally
or like do you feel super weak for some reason, or like
you
know, just kind of be mindful of, oh, maybe I need fuel.
There's other things besides stomach and hunger pangs that tell you that you need food.
Yeah.
I just get tired and grumpy, not hungry. Exactly. That's for sure. Or dizzy.
And dizzy. Yeah, dizzy sucks.
Yeah. And sometimes it might just be like, if you can, just eating little bits throughout the day.
Yeah, which works for some people. Some people thrive on 3 meals a day. Some people thrive on like eating every 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point too, which is like, just because society has decided that we just eat three meals a day at certain times doesn't mean you have to do that. It's good to have a routine for your body to know when you're hungry. Like eating before bed does not help you get up earlier. Yeah. And it can, I think, make your sleep give you less good quality sleep.
Yeah, and gives you less time to heal and stuff because your body's now digesting.
Yeah, but it's like, for me, for a long time, it was like, get up, go eat immediately. But now it's like, I get up, I go for a walk, I meditate, like I do other stuff, and then I go eat. And that has worked a lot better for me. Yeah. So like, remember that it's not one size fits all, and just because, you know, it's normal to have the 3 meals a day and stuff at certain times, you don't have to do it like that. Yeah. Yeah, and this is my point, and I just want to say, this is going back to a little more of the like picky eating and stuff. And so, funnily enough, I don't use Instagram that often, but there was quite a while where like every time I would go into the Instagram explore page, it would recommend me these posts about like food psychology about kids, like how to get kids to eat, and like especially dealing with like picky eaters, dealing with kids with like sensory issues, again, like we talked about earlier, and how do you get them to try new foods, or like not just eat like potatoes and cheese all the time. And well, I thought it was really funny, and I mean, after the first video, it was like, I did keep clicking on them, so it did keep,
it was your own fault. Yeah,
but I don't know where that came from the first time, but
probably me. I follow some of those accounts.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. But one of the things I really liked about it, a point I got from it that I really enjoyed, was something like along the lines of, it said like, it can take 10 food exposures, like literally just having the food in front of the kid before a kid will even eat a food. And I was like, you know, I feel like that applies to people too,
Yep.
where it's just like,
Adults.
yeah, adult people, sorry. Absolutely. Where it's just like, I feel like it can be easy for, like, I definitely have done this where it's like, you try something, an ingredient one way. For a very long time, I didn't like avocados and I didn't like tomatoes. And it's like, we're so dynamic, so changeable that just because you didn't like something one way doesn't mean you won't like it another way. It doesn't mean later on you won't like it. I think it's your fault, honestly. I don't really like, I'm not a huge fan of mushrooms. I used to not eat raw tomatoes, like, at all. And I didn't like avocados. And I feel like just because you would make food where there was, like, mushrooms or, like, tomatoes in them,
you
that
saw
I just...
the different variations that they could be.
And I honestly think part of it, too, is I got enough exposures to it that I got used to it and it wasn't so bad anymore. I still don't love raw tomatoes, but them in stuff is pretty good and I like it now. And so just, like, as a reminder that just because something didn't work for you one time doesn't mean it won't again. Like, and you have a point there. That's like, it can take 21 days specifically, huh?
That's
to
3 weeks.
Yeah,
it can say it like, I've just heard it takes 3 weeks to develop a new habit.
It takes time to develop a new habit. It can take time for your body to get used to something new, especially if you're someone who grew up in, like, a house where it was like meat and potatoes and that's what we're eating. Hold on a sec, let me go up here. It's so relatable. I talked about that one. So glad I was taught to listen to my body and not finish what's in front of me. That's awesome. That's so good. I love to go to the forest and search for them. I love mushrooms.
For reals?
Mushrooms.
Oh my
That's
God.
so cool.
I wish I could identify mushrooms.
I actually like tomato or
grilled mushrooms, yes.
Mushroom soup, and I don't like raw mushrooms a whole lot. I will eat them. And mushrooms in stuff is usually fine.
Mushrooms with, like, oil and garlic.
Well, like those little button mushrooms. With, like, just
on
covered in butter. Like, that's delicious, but that's just butter. So. And I think it's just a big thing, and we didn't really get into this, but I want to talk about a little bit now. Is like, this is another thing that came from the kid psychology thing of, like, there are ways that we can try where it's like you progress to different foods, and it can be like, you know, I think with the kid psychology, it was like you try to change one feature at a time. So it's like you might change the texture of the food they like one time to get a tiny bit closer to the food you want them to eat, you know, and then, like, when the shape is close enough, you change the taste or you change the color, like, and stuff like that. I might make some grilled mushrooms with dinner. It got me thinking, heck yeah. Hello from Korea. Glad to catch you again. Hello,
so cool.
Sid. Lovely to see you.
Hi, from Korea.
And after the stream, I can usually see, like,
locations.
Yeah, like, it shows me, like, this many viewers are from here, and I'm like, oh my God, people
that's so wild.
Around the world.
The day and age we live in.
So cool, so cool. Yeah, but it's like, there's always, if you're someone who has trouble trying new things, vegetables, there are ways you can make it easier. Like, one thing, I don't mind rice, but I find a lot of time, like brown rice just by itself, I just don't like it that much. But then it was like adding stuff into it, my mom, like, put in, like, peas and, like, corn one day, and I was like, this is so good. So it's like,
I think I did that.
Or you did. Someone did that. It wasn't me. Someone else did that to me. But
to me.
Like, there are always ways you can get to it. And so if you are someone who, like, doesn't think they like vegetables or doesn't think they like a particular group of food, like, you can get there. I have trouble with textures. Yeah, that was something we
and
we
that's
talked
a big
about.
thing with, like, mushrooms, avocados.
For sure. I don't know enough personally about, like, I haven't looked enough into sensory issues on my own to, like, really talk about that. And we're talking more about people who it's more of a mind thing, because sensory issues can definitely be a thing. And I do think with that, perhaps gradual changes can be helpful, because your body gets used to things. Our bodies love being able to delegate things so you don't even have to think about it anymore.
We're so adaptable. Like, think about where we started as humans. Like, we evolve.
Ross doesn't like rice. I do like rice. At one point, we have sticky rice, and from one Thai place I love, they give you just, like, a block of the stickiest rice, and it's my favorite thing. I love it. Anyways, I need to drink some water because my throat is getting dry. That's what happens when you talk this much. And finally, this is kind of more getting into self-confidence, which we're not going to talk a ton about because I did talk about it a whole bunch with Rhenium a couple weeks ago, if you want to go check out that stream. But what you look like, how much you weigh, all that kind of stuff, it has nothing to do with your worth as a person.
Yeah, this is like going back to like the rewarding yourself with food for exercising, like that exercise food dynamic with diet culture and body image and body fads, if you can imagine. You're like, you have so much more to offer, and oftentimes like you are not just a number, right? Like, you're not the number on your scale, you're not the number of calories you burn, like
you're not the measurements of your body.
Like, the only person that knows these things about you is you. Right? Like, I'm not like, hey, how much do you weigh today? That like is gonna gauge how I feel about you.
Yeah,
like,
you consistently have an awesome podcast and thank you so much. That makes me feel so nice.
But yeah, it's all about learning to love yourself, and when that is the basis, because we like to talk about the base for everything that we just talked about today, right? Like,
and growth in any way.
Your relationship with food, like, it's all about loving yourself for more than just what you look like.
Yeah. And we're so obsessed.
Hydrate.
Yes, ma'am, hydrate. We're
right.
so obsessed in our society with how people look, and it's such a weird thing. Along with that, if you, like, it is totally okay to want to work towards, say, like, you know, I want to be stronger, or even, like, I want to, you know, be more toned. Like, it's okay to have
these goals.
But, like, understanding why. Like, if your goal is, well, I want to lose 30 pounds because then I'll be thinner and then I'll be happier, I can
I'll be more
promise
accepted and loved.
You will not be happier.
Yeah.
Like, what, even if, you know, we're always works in progress, but you have to love yourself where you are.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the 2,000 bits, Sid. Thank you so much. So nice to have you here. You are always so kind. Thank you again. Oh, and they're little corgis. I love that. I don't know if you saw River's stream the other day. Was it 2 days ago? Their affiliate celebration stream, and we played like an RPG role-playing game, and I got to play a corgi, and I was like, that's definitely so very fitting.
That.
Thank you so much.
Short legs,
always trying to
stumpy.
Fight. Apparently they're very confident for how small they are and trying to compensate.
I feel the same.
Perhaps. Yeah. Anyway, but it starts, like, you have to start by loving yourself where you are, even if you want to improve. That is a part, like, you can want to improve by self-love. So, and that, like, so that's kind of step one you have to work on. Like, if you don't like yourself now, changing you is not going to make you like yourself more. I promise.
Exactly.
And
so I was gonna say, like we said earlier, if you don't deal with what's in your head and what's in your heart, like, changing your outer physical appearance is not gonna do squat for you. Like, you know. So that's why I also want to mention that commenting on someone's appearance, saying like, oh, you lost weight, like, whatever, like, saying it as a praise or saying it at all, like, I just would advise against that, you know, and giving people compliments about, like, their personality or their achievements, because like, don't whittle people down to just what they look like. And also, you never know where people are coming from with, like, struggling with body image and whatever. So saying like, oh, you lost weight, like, you look great, as a good thing, like, maybe it's not a good thing to them, or maybe they're not where they're at, or they want to be at, and, like,
or you're
they're
just
struggling,
reinforcing.
You're reinforcing the idea that, like, oh, you look good and you're accepted, like, whatever. So something to be mindful of.
Absolutely. And I think kind of going with that, like, I always like being told I'm cute. That's great. But also, like, I'm not saying, no, tell me I'm not cute. Or to stop doing that. But it's like, but compliments about something I can control are so much more meaningful. Totally. I don't get to control the way I look. I get to control, like, even, like, complimenting people on their clothes is fine, because it's like, they chose that to be like, I love your style. Like, complimenting them on their, like, achievements, stuff they worked on, like, that's wonderful.
It's so much more meaningful. Like,
absolutely.
Literally, I get bored, like, I don't know, like, you know, like, and as a woman, like, random men on the internet, like, oh, you're cute, oh, you're cute. Like, y'all, I'm bored, I'm smart, I'm kind, I'm like whatever, you know, like just
Yeah,
it's not as meaningful.
Absolutely. This is a teeny bit of a tangent because this isn't directly related, but this always sticks out in my mind of like, so we both used to be cheerleaders, but I remember being on a team. I don't know if I've told this story or not. I don't care. You're hearing it again. But I was on a team, and I was like, so we have little stunt groups, so I had to lift a girl with another girl, and I did so much work doing so much of the work. And along with that, I was at the front for the dance because I'm a good dancer. I'm just naturally, I have good body awareness and coordination and stuff. And I remember at the end of the year, they gave us these cards of like, just like little personalized notes, which was so sweet.
I don't think I've ever heard this.
Yeah, but they gave us a note, and it was like, and for mine, they said, oh, like, you killed it in the dance and stuff like that. And all I could think when I read that was like, all they were doing was complimenting me on the thing that came really easily to me, which I'd rather be complimented on the thing that I worked really hard on. I worked my ass off to lift that stunt because my partner didn't do as much work. Yeah. I like tried so hard, and for it to be like, oh, you're just a really good like this, when it's like that kind of just something that comes naturally to me.
And it's
like,
and it just kind of tells me that they weren't paying attention to you. It's funny because we would train at the same time, so like our teams would watch each other like do our performances kind of thing, and my teammates would always go like, because we're like, as athletes, we know how damn hard that is, and my teammates would always be like, your sister is like manhandling that stunt, right? Like, we know that shit. But for like your coaches to like not pay attention to you enough to like appreciate something you worked hard on, like, it's kind of unfortunate.
Lindsay, I really like your glasses. They highlight her smartness. She doesn't need glasses, by the way.
Why are you pulling my cover?
They're blue light glasses.
They're blue light, and they are magnifying, because in my first,
she just wants to fit in.
No, in my our whole family wears glasses, but in my first semester of naturopathic medical school, which by the way is why I'm here, literally blowing my cover, I actually got eye strain from studying so much, and I went to my eye doctor because I wanted to make sure like I wasn't losing my vision like the rest of my family. But he did say that like my eyes were just tired, so I got these too, and they've worked, by the way.
Great.
They're like reading glasses, like, so it's better with screens and stuff. And they are blue light blocking, because that's hard to get to see.
If they were just an accessory, I don't think I would be upset. You do what you want, but
well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But they are annoying. I can't believe you have to, like, I need windshield wipers. I can't believe you live like this. Right. Anyways. Love yourself.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy.
Just to finish this off, I do think, like, the world and the media is going, like, we're heading in a better direction where it's, like, more people, like, more celebrities are opening up, or, like, not using the Photoshop and stuff like that, and, you know, opening up about their struggles and stuff like that. So, like, we're getting better, but there's still so much
ways
to wade through trying to love yourself when a lot of things still tell you not to. I have basically the same blue light and anti-glare filters due to light sensitivity. They work so well. I also don't.
Twinnies.
I mean, that
me and Bun are twinnies.
I can't see further than like here without my glasses. Just to be clear. So.
We probably look more like when I'm wearing glasses, because someone said we look like twins, right? You're like, you can't tell us apart.
We were talking about this earlier. I have a square jaw and she has a pointier jaw. Also, my hair is green, so that's a difference, I guess.
That's a differentiating factor. Yeah.
Anyways, but basically, in my opinion, the world is still kind of a self-confidence minefield, and it is a radical act to love yourself.
Yeah, my friend would feel offended if I wouldn't notice you. Yeah, see, so that's kind of, obviously that's not a you issue, but it's clear that your friend associates her weight with self-worth, which is unfortunate, right? So maybe you could, like, be a little more gentle and say, I'm glad you're putting, like, effort into your goals or something, you know, less like physical related, because
well, I mean, I think even with that, like, I would feel very complimented if someone said you're looking very strong.
Yeah,
because it's
strong.
Like, it's just I think with weight it gets a little bit like fit. Yeah.
Just like lost weight, it's like what did I achieve there?
I don't know. I feel like
it's hard, right? When it's someone else expecting.
I feel like it just like it complimenting on that stuff can be hard again, because it can get easily into the like, why is that related to their self-worth? I don't know.
But We can't be
Just
everyone's
something we are.
therapist.
We can't be everyone's therapist. You can only do the best you can and try your best.
At the end of the day, you're going to make changes and you're going to work on yourself. And that's all you can do is support the people that you love.
Love your damn self.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's pretty much all I had to say on the topic. It only took us 2.5 hours.
Me too. I need a walk.
I know.
My butt hurts. Everyone go for a walk after this. My butt hurts.
Everybody drink some water. Okay, so that is going to be the end of the stream. Thank you so much, Twink, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Wads, for having me.
Wonderful. Do I have anything else to say? I will be back on Wednesday for my Wildlife Wednesday stream. We're going to be doing a little bit of a different format where I'm going to play Subnautica for the first hour and then just talk about animals for the second hour. Wonderful as always. Thank you so much. Raid. Is there someone I want to raid? The only person online on my list is the chicken stream. So if you guys have any recommendations for stream or rating, then hit me up. But I tend to just not raid because I never have anyone to raid. Oh, last hydrate. Also, is there anything while you're here, you would like to plug? You have social medias. You work on things.
Yeah, I am not on Twitch because I don't know how to work it. And it's also a lot to deal with different social platforms, as you're realizing. But I am on Instagram at Lindsay Mick, LINDSAY MCKK. And then I have a website, lindsaymckenzie.ca.
Oh, you're hitting the cord. Stop hitting the cord.
Ooh, sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Such a noob.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm gonna. You talk. I'm gonna link your stuff.
Oh, you're gonna link my stuff. Yeah, basically, I have a couple of ebooks for sale, mostly focusing on nutrition-related things. I am starting to launch a nutrition and lifestyle program that I'm really, really excited for. Kind of beta testing it. lindsaymckenzie.ca. Yeah, but I'm always happy to chat nutrition and stuff.
Is that your website, or did it just mine just mess up?
Yes, it is. Do you know how to spell my name?
No, it just doesn't work.
But those are the two things that you can find me on. I'm on LinkedIn, but that's more of a business thing, and I'm on Pinterest too, but not as a huge
I will sing song. I promise. Hang on. Okay.
Oh no.
Also, actually, one more thing before we'll end off with the song. But I'm on the fence a little bit, but I may take next week off. Either I'll take it off streaming or I'll just do streams in like random games or something like that. I just need a bit of a break. I need to
She needs to take care of herself.
I need to take care of myself. And but I will definitely be back 2 weeks from now doing the Mindset Monday again. And the other thing, the last 2 days I've just been like yesterday I mostly just rolled around on the floor and did a little bit of notes, and I was just like, I don't know, I'm tired. So, and I haven't really taken a break since I started streaming like 3 months ago.
Yeah,
so
you haven't. You've been going at this.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna serenade you. Ready?
Oh my god.
Twinkle, twinkle, little twink, how I wonder why you stink. Up above the water so high, like a croissant in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little twink, how I wonder why you stink.
By the way, I didn't know that lyric. I really just guessed it.
We're all about changing lyrics in this house.
We are.
Okay.
And we insert Twink and Wads anywhere we can.
All right. That is going to be the end of the stream. I'm going to make sure my end stream is loaded. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Thank you, everybody, for follow. Thank you for the bits. Thank you for the
Thanks
subs.
for hanging out.
Oh, my God.
I really appreciated everyone being so interactive. That was really fun. 5
more bits from Saya. Thank you so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. You can join my Discord below and so on and so forth. Anyway, I will see you on Wednesday.